I'm back. Leo Foster sat stunned in his classroom seat. The droning murmur of his classmates reciting facts for their upcoming finals was a low hum in his ears. Next to him, his desk mate, Ben Carter, was mumbling about a history timeline like a pig rooting for truffles, a sound only he could possibly decipher. Outside, the sky was a brilliant cloudless blue. A summer breeze drifted through the open window, carrying with it the faint, chemical tang of whatever crap some jackass was illegally dumping into the creek again. Leo instinctively waved a hand in front of his face, a gesture he hadn't made in years, yet it felt as natural as breathing. On the whiteboard at the front of the room, a stark message was written in block letters. May 27th, 2010, 10 days until finals. He let out a heavy sigh. Damn it. And I hadn't even finished spending all my money. He'd finally made it, clawed his way through years of hardship to a comfortable life with over $2 million in the bank, a small company, a house, a car. He wasn't rich, but he was secure. And more importantly, he was free. He'd stayed single, dating whenever he felt like it. Life had been pretty sweet. If it hadn't been for that blinding glare of high beams on the freeway overpass, he'd be in a plush king-size bed at the Four Seasons right now. Probably with his gorgeous, black stocking-clad girlfriend, who was a decade his junior. A wave of melancholy washed over Leo as his gaze swept across the sea of fresh, adolescent faces. The shock of being reborn seemed to have jolted his memory, sharpening details that had long since faded. Faces he'd forgotten for years were suddenly clear, names and stories attached. His eyes landed on a girl with a high ponytail in the front row, and he froze. A dead memory sparked, attacking his brain. As if sensing his stare, the girl turned her head. Her face was delicate but held a cool reserve. The slight upward tilt of her nose gave her a playful edge, making her both lovely and alluring. Her eyes were bright, almost luminous, and her perfectly curved lips made you want to lean in and kiss them. It was a face of near-perfect features, assembled into a landscape you couldn't ignore. Leo's heart stumbled. His middle school classmate, the school's reigning queen bee, and now, his Linden High classmate and queen bee, Sophia Hayes. He'd privately nicknamed her the double scoopback in middle school, a nod to a figure that was already leagues ahead of everyone else's and had only gotten better with time. Catching his dumbstruck gaze, Sophia quickly turned back around, a faint blush coloring her cheeks. Her dark ponytail swished, like a feather tickler brushing against Leo's heart. Not 10 minutes in his new life, and suddenly things felt a little more substantial. But he felt like he was forgetting something important. What was it? Dude, stop staring. Your note was a total bust. Give it up, his desk mate Ben mumbled. Note? What note? Leo snapped his head around to look at Ben's round, friendly face, completely baffled. Playing dumb? I saw you slip it into her textbook, Ben said, rolling his eyes. Huh? Seriously? Utterly lost, Leo rubbed his temples, trying to force the memory to surface. Slowly it crystallized. Oh, holy crap. He had written a note. He remembered. Leo's eyes shot open. He was screwed. If things played out like they did the first time, he was about to be publicly executed right in front of the class. Because that note had ended up in the hands of their homeroom teacher. The real problem was Sophia's family was a big deal. He never knew the specifics. A kid from a working-class family had no way of finding out. The people who knew wouldn't talk, and the people who didn't had no answers. Back then, he'd been so naive. He never even noticed how the school administrators spoke to Sophia with a kind of polite deference. Normally, something like this would have ended with a scolding from the teacher. But for some reason, Sophia's parents found out. What followed was a nightmare. Even with finals right around the corner, Leo was publicly reprimanded by the school. His parents were dragged into the principal's office to apologize to Sophia's family. His mother, a respected sixth-grade teacher at the prestigious Linden Elementary, was abruptly transferred to a struggling school in a town miles away. Someone at school seemed to fan the flames, too. The whispers and jeers were relentless. Leo, already in a rebellious phase, was crushed by the weight of the soft bullying and his own guilt. He cracked, spiraling into a depression that tanked his finals. He ended up at a mediocre state college, and his life was a train wreck for a long, long time after. Just then, the rhythmic clack-clack-clack of sensible heels echoed from the hallway, each sound a hammer blow against Leo's heart. Years had passed, but that sound still made his stomach churn. The footsteps stopped. A stern-faced, middle-aged woman with short, severe hair appeared in the doorway. His homeroom teacher and English lit instructor, Ms. Davison. Her cold eyes scanned the room, finally locking onto Leo. Her gaze was like a physical blade, scraping against his skin. Ms. Davison walked to the podium, her expression unreadable. Leo Foster, on your feet. Leo stood up. A wave of curious murmurs rippled through the classroom. Everyone knew that when a teacher called you out like this, something big was about to go down. Ben shot him a look of profound pity, an expression that said, "Godspeed, my friend. I'll pour one out for you later." In the third row, a tall, lanky kid smirked, his face a mask of schadenfreude. Leo shot him a sideways glance. Trevor Miller, another one of Sophia's admirers, and a #1 suspect in the case of the mysterious chemical smells from the creek. The guy was a phantom offender, always wearing an innocent expression, impossible to pin down. "Come up here and read this wonderful piece of writing for the class, Ms. Davison said, holding up a single sheet of paper. The other students caught on, their faces shifting to expressions of wicked delight. A love letter? This is going to be good. Some of them were already nudging each other, ready for the execution. Trevor Miller was grinning so wide Leo was surprised his face didn't split in two. "Wipe that stupid grin off your face, asshole," Leo thought. He took a deep breath and, under the complex stares of his classmates, walked calmly to the front of the room. He took the piece of paper and glanced at it. A chill of pure horror ran down his spine. He'd actually written this crap. "The first time I saw you, I was totally hooked. Your eyes are like stars, your lips are like cherries, and I can't stop thinking about kissing them. Your nose is like a perfect little carrot. I just want to boop it to tell you how cute you are. But the thing I like most is your butt. It's so round, like 2 perfect scoops of ice cream, and it makes me just want to..." He'd intentionally buried the memory of this note so deep he'd pretended it never happened. What kind of mental state had he been in to write something that so bluntly exposed his particular tastes? Deep down, he knew. He just didn't want to admit it. Young and rebellious, with graduation looming, he'd written it as half confession, half prank. He'd figured Sophia would read it, get furious, and tear it to shreds. He never imagined it would blow up like this. If he read this out loud, his parents would be crushed under the fallout all over again. "Well, read it, Ms. Davison said, tapping the podium with her knuckle. Leo glanced quickly at Ms. Davison. She was watching him, her expression unreadable. Her complexion was poor, her skin tinged with a sickly pallor. Her eyes held a strange light, as if she were contemplating some momentous decision. He scanned the faces of his classmates, their expressions a mix of anticipation and pity. The hungry looks in their eyes all but screamed, "Read it. We're waiting." Leo scoffed internally. "You want drama? Not today." He looked down at the note, confirming it was the original. Then, faster than anyone could react, he shoved the entire piece of paper into his mouth. It did not taste good. It was tough to chew. Swallowing it nearly brought tears to his eyes. The classroom fell silent. A moment later, muffled giggles broke out across the room. "Holy crap, he actually did it." In the front row, Sophia's eyes widened and the corner of her mouth twitched before she quickly smoothed her expression back to one of cool indifference. Leo pounded his chest, forcing the wad of semi-chewed paper down his throat. He looked up to meet Ms. Davison's less-than-friendly gaze and scratched his head sheepishly. "Sorry, Ms. D. I was a little hungry. Couldn't help myself." Ms. Davison's eye twitched. She took a deep, deliberate breath, visibly forcing down the fire that was about to erupt. "Fine. You ate it. Now, recite your brilliant essay from memory." "Of course. Thank you, Ms. D," Leo said, putting on a grateful face. Then he began to improvise. 3 years of high school. I've written the memories of my time with all of you into every calculus equation. The feelings are overflowing. In this classroom, every moment we've spent, studying together, is forever etched in my heart. Leo's voice was smooth and rhythmic, his impromptu speech growing more convincing by the second. The expressions on his classmates' faces were priceless. This wasn't a love letter. Sophia looked on, a strange expression on her face. She bit her lip, pressing down a smile that threatened to break free. Ms. Davison just watched him, her eyes glinting, saying nothing. "Thank you, Ms. Davison, for your motherly guidance. And thank you to my friend for being by my side. I wish all of you, and myself, the very best as we take that great leap forward." "I'm finished, ma'am," Leo said, giving her a slight bow. Ms. Davison, who had been silent the whole time, looked at him with a mixture of scrutiny and curiosity. Her fingers tapped lightly on the podium. An invisible pressure settled over the room. The students held their breath, unsure what was happening. Leo felt a flicker of anxiety. "You're not going to push this, are you?" If the whole school found out what he'd written to Sophia, her parents would definitely step in. Thinking back, Leo had always been confused about Ms. Davison's role in the original incident. Why'd she come down on him so hard? It made no sense. Was the school trying to curry favor with Sophia's powerful family? It wasn't unheard of. In 2010, in a small town like Linden Creek, some high school teachers still wielded immense power. A top-tier school like Linden High had already filtered for the most diligent students, so managing them was easy. For every teacher dedicated to education, there was another one trying to climb the ladder. The feel-good high school dramas were just that, dramas. As Leo's mind raced, Ms. Davison finally spoke. Well written. I expect to see your essays improve to this level over the next 10 days. Then you might just take that leap. The words sent a wave of relief through Leo. However, Ms. Davison added coolly, Leo's heart, which had just settled, shot back into his throat. What now? You're not going to change your mind, are you? You will write me one essay of this type every day until finals are over. That's it. Leo's heart dropped back into place. A piece of cake. Yes, ma'am. I'll get it done. Good. You may sit down. Ms. Davison's gaze was deep and penetrating. Thank you, Ms. Davison. Leo bowed again. The crisis was averted. As long as there was no follow-up, everything else was manageable. He walked back to his seat under the scrutiny of dozens of eyes. As he passed Sophia's desk, she happened to look up. Their eyes met. Leo deliberately raised an eyebrow and gave her a playful wink. That's what you get for telling on me, he thought with a private smirk. Sophia quickly looked away, but not before Leo caught the flicker of panic in her eyes. At first, he couldn't deny the resentment he'd felt toward her. But as he'd matured, he'd come to understand. Some things were simply beyond the control of two 18-year-olds. Sophia had always been a diligent student, never one to chat with boys. She was the definition of a good girl. Handing a love letter over to a teacher was exactly the kind of thing a good girl would do. He just never expected the school to intervene so heavily. Later, he'd learn more about her. She was a classic case of a good girl, raised under immense pressure by an overbearing mother. He heard she'd sworn off marriage, became a workaholic, and got a law degree from a top university. The last time he saw her was in a clip that popped up on his TikTok feed. She was on some panel, wearing glasses, her brow furrowed in a perpetual frown. The caption identified her as a director in a federal agency. Back at his desk, Ben nudged him with his elbow and gave him a covert thumbs up. Dude, you're a legend, he whispered. I can't believe she didn't make you read the real thing. As his desk mate, Ben knew exactly what was in that note. He'd been bracing for Leo's public humiliation. He pretended to study his textbook, whispering, How do you pull that off? Pure talent, Leo said with a mysterious smile. He no longer blamed Miss Davison. He knew that at this point in time, she was already in the late stages of cancer. Her home life was difficult, and she passed away during his freshman year of college. In his previous life, this incident marked the beginning of his descent into a withdrawn, self-loathing shell. It wasn't until a kind, pretty girl showed him some attention that he felt a glimmer of hope. He'd fallen hard, giving her 5 years of his life and everything he had. It ended when the girl had a falling out with her best friend, who then sent Leo a screenshot of his contact name in the girl's phone. Tier 3 A-list simp. Leo. The friend even explained what Tier 3 meant. Total trust, gives anything, comes when called. Even after that spectacular flameout, he hadn't given up on love and marriage, telling himself his luck couldn't be that bad forever. Turns out, he was one of the unlucky ones. Finally, seeing his parents, barely in their 50s with heads full of gray hair, he'd had an epiphany. He'd finally evolved into Leo black-pilled Foster. And oddly enough, his career took off. He'd even started his own company. The memories flashed through his mind and were gone. He smiled, sealing them away. Everything was starting over. His gaze drifted back to the front left of the classroom, to Sophia. Yeah, my taste was pretty good back then, he thought. Definitely a perfect scoop. As if sensing something, Sophia shifted uncomfortably in her seat. Leo chuckled to himself and buried his head in his review books. Sophia Hayes's mind was in turmoil. It was as if someone had skipped a stone across the placid lake of her thoughts, sending ripples in every direction. How could he be like that? So shameless. She tried to push the distracting thoughts away, but the image of his gaze, that brazen wink, kept replaying in her mind, impossible to suppress. It wasn't exactly roguish, but it was flirty, a little predatory. It felt like he'd pinned her against a wall, forcing her to meet his eyes. Her heart gave a strange little jump, and a tingle shot up her spine to the top of her head. The unfamiliar sensation left her feeling flustered and anxious. What is wrong with me? She knew Leo Foster. They'd been in the same middle school, the same classes, all the way up to now. She didn't just know him. She knew about some of his most embarrassing, pride-driven screw-ups. But but he'd always been so quiet, so seemingly harmless. How did he suddenly turn into this? The image of his face in her mind was now in 1080p Blu-ray. In terms of looks, she'd always thought he was the most handsome boy in their grade, just a little too tan. And the way he'd stood on that stage, so calm and confident, it was like he was a completely different person. But that look he gave her, it was just too much. So shameless. As her mind raced, she felt a strange sensation, as if someone were watching her from behind. It has to be him. What do I do? Sophia shifted uneasily in her seat. Thankfully, she wasn't harassed again before the final bell rang. With finals so close, there were no evening study sessions. Leo headed downstairs, walking toward the bike racks on a path guided by fuzzy memories. He took in the strange yet familiar surroundings, feeling the vibrant, 18-year-old energy coursing through his veins. A thrill of pure joy shot through him. He found his bike after a moment of concentration, pulling it out and patting the handlebars. Long time no see, old friend. Just as he swung his leg over, he saw Sophia unlocking her own bike nearby. The moment their eyes met, she jerked her head away, her face flushing as a hint of panic flashed in her bright eyes. As she bent down to work the lock, her school uniform top rode up, failing to conceal her slender waist and that perfect, full-moon curve he'd so crudely written about. Leo's eyes lit up. The reborn, black-pilled jerk in him took over. He stared, hard, taking what he considered a small payment of interest. As if she could feel it, Sophia shot upright, pulling her legs together and yanking her top down to cover herself. The tips of her ears turned a visible shade of crimson. Her delicate face was beet red as she bit her lower lip, hopping on her bike and pedaling away as if she were fleeing a crime scene. Leo felt a surge of satisfaction. He chuckled, jumped on his old friend, and sped off toward home. Riding through the old streets, the setting sun felt as warm on his face as the feeling in his heart. The Westwood Apartments. Leo felt a nervous tremor as he knocked on the door to 302. Knock, knock, knock. Who is it? His mother's voice, younger than he'd heard it in years, called from inside. Mom, it's me, Leo said, his own voice thick with emotion. The door swung open, revealing Sarah Foster, holding a kitchen knife. Why don't you ever bring your key? I'm in the middle of chopping vegetables. At 41, Sarah Foster was still a handsome woman, with dark, glossy hair. Though crow's feet were starting to appear at the corners of her eyes, she had a graceful, dignified air about her. She was currently a 6th-grade homeroom teacher at Linden Creek Elementary. I forgot it, Leo said, his heart a mix of excitement and guilt. When he'd hit rock bottom, his parents had been his superheroes, swallowing their pride to borrow money from everyone they knew. By the time he got back on his feet, they were barely 50, yet their hair was white and their bodies were racked with health problems. Mom, I miss you today, Leo said, reaching out for a hug. Sarah slapped his hands away. Flattery will get you nowhere. What happened? Did you get in trouble at school? Nothing happened. I just suddenly missed you, Leo said, a little embarrassed. This was his fault. He'd stopped communicating with his mom like this after he started high school. Humph. You miss me? Weren't you the one who yelled so loud the other day that you didn't want a mother like me? She snorted. Huh? Did I say that? Leo was stunned. He had no memory of saying such a thing. Did you say that? You yelled it so loud the whole building heard. Everyone was laughing at me. Sarah turned and walked back to the kitchen, giving him her back. Leo followed her and, bending down, rested his chin on his mother's 5'3" frame. I'm sorry, Mom. I was being an idiot. I apologize. I love you the most. You're annoying. Get off me, she said, shrugging her shoulder. Mom, I'm really sorry. I was being immature. I love you so much. How about I make it up to you by getting into a top-tier university? Oh, a top-tier university, is it? With 10 days left, you'd have a hard time roasting a sack of potatoes. More than one sack. I could roast 3 sacks. Mom, I'm serious. I'll get into a top-tier school so you can brag to all the neighbors and your colleagues. How about that? Is it illegal to brag? No? Then brag away. For real. I'm going to start studying right now and not stop for 10 days. You know, my math and science are solid. Really? More real than gold. Are you not mad anymore? You're the best mom in the world. I love you the most. Leo shamelessly continued to sweet-talk her. And you still yelled at me like that. I was being a blockhead. Don't be sad, okay? Come on, give me a hug. Leo grinned, turning her around to face him. Sarah kept a straight face, giving him no quarter. You're not mad anymore, right? I'll be good. Hug. Leo pleaded, holding his arms open. Sarah stared at him for a long moment, then suddenly broke into a laugh. This was exactly how she used to coax him when he was little. Now the roles were reversed. She reached up and pulled her much taller son into a hug, as if he were a giant toddler. I don't care about any of that. But if you don't get into a top-tier school, we'll see if I ever speak to you again. A tough exterior hiding a soft heart was a common affliction among mothers. Being hugged by her son, Sarah's mood inexplicably lifted. All right, kiddo, go wait for dinner. I'll make your favorite spicy chicken with green beans. Okay, Leo nodded enthusiastically. That was his absolute favorite dish, and it had to be spicy. He walked into his long-lost room. The walls were covered with posters of Taylor Swift, Kristen Stewart, Scarlett Johansson, and Hathaway. A good 7 or 8 of them, all women, a mix of young starlets and established actresses. Leo's tastes had always been consistent. Studying in this environment felt inspiring. His aptitude for the sciences was, in part, due to his keen interest in exploring dimensions. He used to have a poster of a particularly well-endowed actress, but someone had torn it down. He sighed with nostalgia and, under the watchful eyes of his celebrity harem, began to study. The knowledge that had long been forgotten seemed to resurface as he settled back into his old environment, like reclaiming a lost part of himself. Leo sharpened his metaphorical sword, determined to make a final push. He didn't emerge until his mom knocked on the door to call him for dinner. He walked out and saw his father, David Foster, already sitting on the wooden sofa in the living room. His hair was still black, and he had a scholarly look behind his glasses. David was also tall, nearly 6 feet. The Fosters weren't originally from Linden Creek, where the average height was closer to 5'7". Leo threw an arm around his dad's shoulders. Dad, you know, you're a pretty handsome guy. I know I'm handsome. How else do you think your mother fell for me? David said with mock disdain, though his eyes held a hint of surprise. His wife had told him when he got home that their son seemed different, and that he'd promised to get into a top-tier university. He didn't believe it. The meal was deeply satisfying for Leo. He didn't have a magical system like in the novels he'd read, but having what he'd lost returned to him, a second chance at life, was the greatest prize of all. 10 days flew by in a flash. During that time, Leo raced against the clock. Aside from occasionally sneaking a glance at Sophia's shapely backside at school, he spent every waking moment studying, trying to patch up his weaknesses. As the weather grew hotter, the final exams arrived. 12 years of accumulated knowledge, all for this one shot. On the afternoon of the 8th, after finishing his last exam, English, Leo walked out of the classroom feeling like a massive weight had been lifted from his shoulders. He had a good feeling he'd knocked this one out of the park. A moment later, Ben Carter burst out, charging toward Leo like a wild dog let off its leash. I'm finally free. Seeing his friend's ecstatic, hormone-fueled frenzy, Leo sighed inwardly. Kid, the real prison is just ahead of you. He decided, out of the goodness of his heart, to enlighten him. You know, I hear college is all about mastering the 3 L's. The 3 L's? What's that? Some kind of new age philosophy? Ben asked, striking a mock serious pose. Pray tell, O wise one, what are these 3 L's? Leo answered with a straight face. Loans, ladies, and lost brain cells. I don't get it. Please, master elaborate. College is full of girls in sundresses. You'll spend so much money on them you'll end up with massive student loans. College is full of girls in sundresses. You'll be so distracted by all the ladies. And between the loans and the ladies, you'll end up with a whole lot of lost brain cells. I still don't totally get it, but my brain feels itchy. I think it's trying to grow, Ben said, blinking and scratching his head furiously. Leo chuckled to himself. You have to conquer them to achieve enlightenment, my friend. The greatest tragedy of college was getting the loans without the ladies. Only by mastering the final stage, getting the ladies without the loans, could one truly touch divinity. He glanced around idly, and his eyes fell on Sophia Hayes, standing not far away. She looked cool and elegant, emanating a kind of untouchable, ethereal vibe. Just then, she looked over. The moment their eyes met, Leo raised his eyebrows and shot her another one of his signature winks. Sophia turned her head away as if she hadn't seen a thing. But inside, that one look had sent her heart into a turbulent flutter, a tangled mess of emotions. How can he be like that? So shameless. And all that talk about ladies, and, so vulgar. But what was truly baffling was the inexplicable urge she felt to look at that vulgar boy one more time. Of course, she would never give in to such a strange impulse. She just glanced out of the corner of her eye. That's all. And then she suddenly remembered. Leo hadn't said a single word to her these past 10 days. Not one. In the past, they would always chat after exams, and he was always so earnest. What happened? Was he angry that his note ended up with the teacher? But, regretting giving that note to Ms. Davison, a teasing voice said from behind her. Sophia jumped, startled out of her reverie. Her face flushed. No, of course not. I was just thinking about the exams, she denied. Her best friend, Chloe Davis, completely ignored the flimsy excuse. You know, I think Leo's pretty great. He's cute, has a good personality, but your mom would never approve. Chloe knew the truth about the note, and more importantly, she knew about the Hayes family status and her mother's strict parenting style. It was a long shot, harder than getting a full ride to Harvard. You're overthinking it. I really wasn't thinking about that, Sophia insisted, sticking to her story. Fine, you weren't thinking about it. Can I think about it, then? Maybe you should just let me have him, Chloe teased. If you want him, go talk to him. What does it have to do with me? Sophia said, feigning indifference, and a part of her truly believed it. So why did she feel a pang of unhappiness? I was just kidding. Look at you, getting all worked up. Chloe gave her friend a look of disdain. I am not. And strangely, Sophia felt a little better. What is wrong with me? She was completely bewildered. An hour later, a local internet cafe. Leo, man, what happened? You suck now, Ben complained after headshotting him for the 10th time. My brain is full of formulas and historical dates. Leo shrugged, feigning helplessness. There was no way he was admitting that his 32-year-old soul had the reflexes of a tranquilized sloth. At the mention of scores, Ben put down his mouse. So what do you think you got? Hard to say. Somewhere between 600 and 630, maybe, Leo said honestly. His English was probably a weak point, but his essays would have made up for it. The STEM sections were his strong suit, that much was certain. Holy crap. Leo, did you take a magic pill or something? Ben's jaw dropped. Are you possessed by the ghost of Einstein? Just a guess. A little wishful thinking never hurt anyone, Leo said with a smile. Ben looked stunned. His own estimate was no higher than 580. Leo, I believe you. But with that kind of score difference, we're probably going to different colleges. It sucks to think about. A wave of sadness washed over him. The two lost their appetite for gaming and left the internet cafe. They hadn't walked more than a few steps when they saw Sophia and Chloe walking toward them, arm in arm. Their small town only had 2 main streets. All the rest were side alleys. This road passed right by the high school, so running into classmates was normal. Leo. Ben. Chloe called out first. Ben waved, then nudged Leo. A chance encounter on the street. It's a sign from the heavens, dude. Go say something. What's the point? We'll be going our separate ways for college anyway. What difference does a few more words make? Leo said, slipping effortlessly into his cool, detached persona. Graduation season is breakup season. High school, college, it all ends up a mess. If you're lucky, you go from prom to wedding, but the odds of that are lower than winning the lottery. Why look for trouble? Better to just focus on making money. When your wallet's fat, the girls will follow. Damn, Leo. Have you achieved enlightenment or something? Ben stared at him, dumbfounded. His buddy had never been this profound before. Of course. I'm on the verge of ascending to a higher plane, Leo quipped. He'd been reborn, after all. What was that, if not ascension? Ben scratched his head, looking troubled. What's wrong? Finally realizing your own mortal limitations. Leo found his expression amusing. My brain is super itchy. I think it's actually trying to grow. Leo was speechless. The two groups drew closer. Sophia's eyes darted away, afraid of getting another one of his flirty looks. But this time, Leo was the picture of a gentleman, not even glancing her way. Leo, what's your score estimate? Chloe asked. It'll be what it'll be, Leo said with a casual smile. Hearing this, Sophia snuck a peek at him, only to find him watching her. And his gaze was strange, a little intense, a little appreciative, and a little lecherous. But the weirdest part was that she felt like he was looking at her the way an adult looks at a child. While she was still trying to figure it out, she saw him wink again. Flustered, Sophia quickly looked away, her heart pounding in her chest. Seriously, she thought resentfully. First he ignores me, then he suddenly stares at me like that. What about you, Ben? Chloe asked. Me? Probably around 500-something, Ben shrugged, then turned to Sophia. What about you, Queen Sophia? Me? Sophia hesitated. 630 or above shouldn't be a problem. As she said it, she darted a quick glance at Leo to see if he was listening. Instead, she found him staring blankly at a bicycle passing by on the street, as if he hadn't heard a thing. A wave of disappointment washed over Sophia. While she half listened to Chloe, she couldn't help but keep her attention on Leo. What is he thinking? He gave me that note, and he looks at me like that. But now he won't even talk to me. That note. An impulse surged through her. She wanted to walk over and tell him that she hadn't been the one to give the teacher the note, that it had just disappeared, but she couldn't bring herself to say it. It had disappeared while in her possession. It was impossible to explain without sounding like she was making excuses. It would only make things worse. Sophia, a voice called out from a distance. A gleaming BMW 5 Series pulled up beside them. In the driver's seat was none other than Trevor Miller, the Tizot watch on his extended left wrist catching the sun. He looked like he was terrified someone might not know his family owned a quarry and had a little bit of money. He ran his left hand through his hair. Sophia, what a coincidence. You guys hanging out? Is there something you need? Sophia asked, her tone cool and distant. Oh, nothing. Just wanted to ask what you think you scored, Trevor said with a confident smile, shooting a sideways glance at Leo. Sophia looked at Leo, then answered distractedly. Somewhere over 600. Trevor saw her look, and the sight turned his heart sour with jealousy. He forced a cheerful expression. Sophia, with your skills, getting into a top-tier school is a piece of cake. I'm about the same. Have you thought about where you want to go? I haven't decided yet. I'll figure out later. Sophia had no interest in continuing the conversation. Her dark eyes kept drifting toward Leo. Trevor noticed this too, and the vinegar in his heart overflowed. He turned to Leo. Leo, what did you get? Falling further and further behind us is one thing, but don't embarrass yourself when the scores come out. Ben had a short fuse. Leo's getting at least a 630, he shot back. 630? At least. Everyone froze for a second. Trevor laughed as if he'd just heard the world's funniest joke. Don't just brag to save face in front of Sophia. It's going to be real awkward when you get exposed. I believe him. You, on the other hand, should be careful not to humiliate yourself, Ben retorted. He might not have believed it before, but for some reason, he had complete faith in his friend this time. Haha, Leo, why don't you tell us yourself? What do you think you'll get? Trevor, fueled by jealousy, was getting heated. 630 sound about right, Leo said with a slight smile, deliberately provoking him. Sophia and Chloe looked astonished. A flicker of light danced in Sophia's eyes. You? 630. Trevor scoffed. Stop pretending. If you, Leo Foster, can get a 630, I'll literally eat crap. You're a real piece of work, Leo said with a dismissive smirk. All right then, better start practicing your yoga poses. You'll want to be limber when it's time to eat it fresh. Sophia and Chloe's minds briefly connected, a shared mental image of someone bent over in a deeply unfortunate pose flashing between them. Fresh? Ugh. The image was so vivid it nearly made them gag. Stop, don't say any more, Chloe pleaded, waving her hands. You? Trevor's face was flush with anger. What if you don't get it? If I don't, I'll call you Dad, Leo said, then grabbed a snickering Ben. Benny, let's go. The two of them turned and walked away. You better remember what you said. Don't you dare back out. Trevor yelled at their retreating backs, his voice filled with righteous indignation. Sophia and Chloe exchanged a look and shook their heads. We're leaving too. Okay, bye, Sophia. I'll message you on QQ, Trevor said, forcing a casual goodbye. He watched them for a few seconds before getting in his car and driving off. The Westwood Apartments, dinner time. Sarah Foster asked in a relaxed tone. So, honey, how did the exams go? Don't worry. I can't promise a 650, but 600 is a sure thing, Leo mumbled, his mouth full of spicy chicken. His parents exchanged a look. David, the accountant, spoke first. Son, don't put too much pressure on yourself. Sarah, the teacher, nodded in agreement. Yeah, as long as you did your best. The difference between a top-tier school and a regular one isn't that huge. The difference was, of course, huge, but the exams were over. Better to let their son relax. What parent didn't care about their child's scores? I'm telling you, I got over 600. I think getting into a top school won't be a problem, Leo said with a wide grin. Sarah looked at him, a mixture of disbelief and hope in her eyes. Honey, you're not just saying that to make me feel better, are you? Relax. In a few days, you can help me pick a university. We'll be targeting schools in the 600 to 630 range. Wow, that confident, huh? Then it must be true, David laughed. Sarah's face lit up with joy, but she was still nervous. Nothing was certain until the results were out. The next morning, Leo went to a barbershop and got a haircut, short on the sides, slightly longer, and texture on top. The barber wasn't the most skilled, but it was presentable. It only cost $5, so cheap he wanted to cry. Then he hopped on his bike and rode around the small town of Linden Creek, looking for any opportunities to make some startup cash over the summer. He rode until 2 in the afternoon and came up empty. It was a tiny town with no real business opportunities. Most people had left to find work in bigger cities. It would be another 4 or 5 years before the place saw any real development. The only new thing was the Linden Creek Galleria, which had been built a year ago. Leo sighed. It looked like he'd have to get his seed money from the teacher and the accountant. That evening, when Sarah saw her son's new haircut, her eyes lit up. That looks great. So handsome and sharp. Aha! Leo preened. When she saw the back of his head, she looked like she wanted to say something but held her tongue. Sarah had made 8 dishes for dinner, all of them hearty. Leo swallowed hard. Mom, are we having guests? Your Uncle Ken and Annie are coming over for dinner. Oh, Leo immediately remembered the Yang family. Ken Yang was his dad's old boss and current supervisor. More importantly, their daughter, Jenny Yang, was gorgeous. She was also his parents' goddaughter and his own godsister. She was the one who had torn down his poster of the buxom actress. It wasn't until much later that Leo learned Jenna was the reigning queen of the campus beauty rankings at Northwood Tech. She had a nickname, the Tyrannosaurus Fairy, a fiery personality. Leo knew just how much of a Tyrannosaurus she could be. He had the bruises to prove it. She'd once grabbed him by the hair and punched him. The memory still made him wince. But he deserved it. He'd won an argument with his mom, and when Jenna heard about it, she'd stormed over and given him a thrashing. When Jenna decided to discipline him, his parents never interfered. In the foster household, Jenna held a high status. She'd practically grown up there, eating and sleeping over. She was the family's eldest daughter. At this thought, Leo's heart tightened. 3 winters from now, Jenna would die by suicide. In her own bedroom at the Yang's house, from charcoal poisoning. She had been perfectly fine, hadn't gone anywhere, and then it just happened. At the time, Leo had been deep in his simping phase, and Jenna's death was the only thing that had snapped him out of it. After that, Ken Yang and his wife were never the same. The Fosters were devastated for weeks. This time, Leo thought, no matter what, I won't let that happen again. Half an hour later, his dad returned, accompanied by Ken Yang and his wife. Ken was in his early 50s, tall and broad-shouldered with a rugged, honest face. His wife was a few years younger, and you could still see traces of her youthful beauty, though her complexion looked unhealthy. Uncle Ken, Annie, Leo said, quickly standing up to greet them. Seeing his haircut, his dad praised it, and Ken teased, well, Leo, you've really changed your look. Your dad was bragging about you, and I didn't believe him. I'll take that as a compliment. Uncle Ken, Leo laughed. And a sense of humor, too. Good. Ken boomed. That haircut suits you, Leo. You look so bright and handsome. Mrs. Yang added with a smile. After they sat down, Leo buried his head in his food, listening to them talk about company costs, the volatile stock market, and eventually the World Cup. Leo's ears immediately perked up. He'd almost forgotten. This year's World Cup was in full swing. He tried to remember which team won that year. Just then, there was a knock on the door. Leo, being the closest, went to open it. Well, who's this handsome young man? What are you doing at my godmother's house? Standing in the doorway was a tall girl with long, flowing black hair, her eyes sparkling with playful mischief. In Linden Creek, a girl standing at 5'7" was a rarity. Only Sophia Hayes could compare. This was a face that was uniquely charming and instantly recognizable. Full cheeks, a delicate jawline, and a pair of captivating, almond-shaped eyes. The corners of her lips were naturally turned up in a slight smile. She exuded a confident, commanding aura, the quintessential cool older sister. She wore a simple white t-shirt with a graphic print, straight-leg jeans, and a pair of the white flats that were popular at the time. Her chest was prominent, though it was hard to tell if it was natural or thanks to a well-engineered bra. A fist lightly punched Leo's shoulder, snapping his wandering gaze back to attention. Jenny Yang shot him a warning glare, squeezed past him, and entered the house, her expression instantly melting into a sweet smile. Godmom, Goddad, I'm here to freeload. Sweetie, come here, Sarah said, her face full of affection as she pulled Jenna into Leo's recently vacated chair. Leo, get your sister a bowl and chopsticks. Mrs. Yang glanced at her daughter. Didn't you say you were coming back tomorrow? My friends wanted to hang out, but I decided I didn't want to go, Jenna said, her eyes already devouring the dishes on the table, her mouth watering. I haven't had Godmom's cooking in forever. Leo brought over a bowl and chopsticks, then grabbed a stool and carefully sat down next to Jenna. The 2 middle-aged men continued their discussion about sports, while the 2 women chattered with Jenna about school. Leo was the only one silently demolishing his food. He finished quickly, politely excused himself. I'm done. Uncle Ken, Annie, sis, take your time, and disappeared into his room. Ken Yang smiled with genuine warmth. Leo's really changed a lot. It's great to see. David Foster's face was filled with pride. As long as he's sensible, that's all that matters. How successful he becomes is secondary. In his room, Leo listened to Linkin Park for half an hour. The door was pushed open, then closed. He didn't need to look to know it was Jenna. She never knocked. Get up. I need to inspect your bed. Jenna smacked him on the thigh. What's there to inspect? Leo grumbled, but he obediently stood up. If he didn't, he'd get pinched. Like a detective, Jenna ripped off his comforter, flipped his pillows, and even took a deep, dramatic sniff of the air. Satisfied, she issued a stern warning. Listen to me. No weird magazines. They'll stunt your growth, you understand? Leo muttered to himself, relieved he'd been too busy lately to acquire any such materials. Otherwise, his sister's bloodhound nose would have sniffed them out for sure. What's your score estimate? What schools are you thinking about? Jenna plopped down on his bed, her perfect hip-to-waist ratio on full display. She had an incredible figure, as if all her stats had been maxed out in Allure. She had a potent, womanly charm. This room had been hers until Leo was 8. Back then, Ken and his wife were always busy, so his mom would bring Jenna home with her after work. From 8 to 10, he'd even shared a bed with her. It wasn't until Jenna's mom got sick and stayed home to recuperate that Jenna moved back to her own house in the same apartment complex, though she still slept over often. Around, a little over 600 maybe. I'm thinking Northwood State or Northwood Tech, Leo said, his gaze fixed on her pretty face. Seriously? Don't you lie to Godmom. If you make her sad, I'll beat you up, Jenna said, her expression full of doubt. It's true, sis. I've been working my butt off. You'll see in a few days. I don't believe you. I'll believe it when I see the results. If you get over 600, I'll grant you one wish. Something like, I'll promise to stop hitting you. What if I get over 630? If you get over 630, I'll grant you anything. I swear on it. Anything? Hey, you said it. Don't back out later. I won't back out. But if you don't even break 600, you just wait and see if I don't beat the crap out of you. Don't underestimate me. You just get ready to make good on your promise, Leo chuckled. As long as the results are over 630, I'm 100% good for it. Jenna threatened him a few more times before running off to the other room to play on the computer. It was after 9 when the Young family finally left. 18 agonizing days after submitting his college applications, it was finally time to check the scores. That evening, David Foster came home early from work. The family of 3 gathered nervously around the computer. The moment of truth had arrived. Sarah's hands were trembling. David, forgetting his wife was right there, lit a cigarette. When the score appeared on the screen, the couple froze. 639, second highest in the county. The number 1 spot went to Sophia Hayes with 641. David's cigarette fell from his lips, but he didn't notice. Sarah rubbed her eyes and checked again. That's right. It was really 639. She didn't cheer. Instead, she covered her mouth and began to sob quietly. Then she threw her arms around her son. My boy. Oh, my good boy. For years, people had used her son as a cautionary tale. Now what? Who would dare say a bad word about him now? David just stood there, grinning like an idiot. They had given up all hope, and then this wonderful surprise fell into their laps. The score wasn't anything spectacular on a state level, but in Linden Creek, it was astounding. That night, David started planning a graduation party, wanting to invite old colleagues and relatives. It took a lot of convincing from Leo, who argued for keeping a low profile, to talk him down. His parents marveled at their son's newfound maturity, but the party happened anyway. Ken and his wife insisted on it, booking 5 tables at the best restaurant in town. They didn't hang any banners. It was just a small gathering of close colleagues and relatives. Leo received over $1,000 in gift money, and that was after the Fosters specifically asked people not to bring cash gifts. Ken Yam was a separate case. He gave Leo $1,000 cash and a brand new Asus laptop. The restaurant owner, a friend, gave him a 70% discount. He'd wanted to comp the whole meal, but Ken and David had insisted on paying. That night, at 8 o'clock in Leo's room at the Foster house. Huh, I got over 630. So what do you say? Leo gloated. Look at you, Jenna said, rolling her eyes at her brother, though a smile played on her lips. I really didn't expect it. You did great. You made Godmom proud. I was talking about someone forgetting something, Leo prompted. What thing? Jenna played dumb. How women. Always trying to get out of things, Leo said with a look of contempt. All right, a promise is a promise. I'll do what I said I'd do, Jenna said, finally giving in. So tell me, what do you want? She was lounging diagonally on his bed, having kicked Leo off onto his desk chair. She wasn't wearing jeans today, but a white sundress that exposed 2 long, slender legs. Her right leg was crossed over her left, a book held in her hand. Her preference for flats meant her toes were perfectly shaped, not squeezed or deformed. Unpainted, her pale, translucent toes looked like little steam buns. The way her legs were crossed, you could almost imagine the long, elegant lines hidden beneath the dress. If she were wearing black stockings, Leo's eyes darted over for a peek. The hot blood of an 18-year-old rushed to his head, and he found himself staring, mesmerized. Just then, Jenna prompted him again. Well, say it. I want to touch your leg. Leo blurted out, his true nature revealed. The moment the words left his mouth, he knew he was in trouble. A book came flying at his face, connecting squarely with the bridge of his nose. Ow! Leo yelped, clutching his face. He knew that was coming. Say that again, Jenna hissed, her voice low and dangerous. She pushed herself up, her almond-shaped eyes, capable of electrocuting a man at 20 paces, flashing as she raised a hand to strike. Leo stammered. Well, she'd already heard it. Might as well go all in. Yeah, that's what I said. I want to touch it, so what? You're trying to be a perv? Is that it? Are you looking for a beating? Jenna was half sitting up, one hand propped on the bed, her legs bent. The pose perfectly showcased the long, undulating curves of her body. Even with his nose throbbing, Leo's heart hammered in his chest, and his baser instincts kicked in. What was I even doing in my last life? He thought. I had this amazing sister right here, and I went off to be some girl's simp. His mind raced. Taking a deep breath, he launched into a dead serious, completely fabricated explanation. Sis, you misunderstood. That's not what I meant. I heard that college is full of predatory girls. I need to build up my resistance so I don't get led astray. He put on a deeply concerned expression, as if he could already foresee a future filled with temptation and hardship. Nice try. Keep it up, Jenna said, not buying it for a second. Leo scoffed. Believe what you want. That's what I'm thinking. The real issue here is that you're backing out of a promise. You said you'd do anything. They stared at each other, the atmosphere in the room crackling. Jenna was silent, her clear eyes unreadable. After a long moment, she said, pick something else. Nope, this is it. I need to train my resistance, Leo said, turning his head away with a defiant air. If you want to back out, fine. I'll just pretend you never said it. Inside, his heart was pounding. Stick to your guns. Stay strong. The bedroom fell silent again. Jenna carefully studied his expression. Leo kept his chin up, his face a mask of stubborn pride. After what felt like an eternity, Jenna asked suspiciously, You're really just trying to build resistance? What else? I could just go to college and find a girl to touch, couldn't I? Leo snorted, but inside he was ecstatic. He knew she was giving in. Jenna was a contradiction. She was fierce with him, but she also spoiled him. It was because he knew she would ultimately yield that he dared to make such an outrageous request. The room fell quiet again. Leo could hear his own heart beating, a frantic drum he could barely contain. Believe me, sis, I'm not a pervert. I'm just trying to protect my virtue. 5 seconds later, Jenna whispered, just once. Her hushed reply was like music to his ears, the key that unlocked a flood of hormones. A rush of blood went straight to his head. He forced himself to remain calm, his face impassive. Okay, just once. He moved closer, sitting on the edge of the bed. He looked at her nervously. So, Jenna closed her eyes, her voice barely a whisper. Hurry up. Leo didn't dare hesitate. He reached out his hand, touched her, and quickly pulled it back. He'd claimed his prize. Although, the prize might have been claimed from slightly higher altitude than agreed upon. Hand says bliss. Brain says awesome. But you won't do it again. Jenna shot up, her face a mask of mortified anger. Leo scrambled back, covering his head. A fist landed on his chest. You little creep. Where did you put your hand? Jenna hissed, punching him again. I'll teach you to mess with me. I'll teach you to bully your sister. 2 punches weren't enough. She grabbed his hand and bit down hard on his forearm. The pain made Leo's mouth fall open, but he didn't dare make a sound for fear of being heard outside. She was biting hard. The pain was excruciating. Gritting his teeth, he decided on a desperate countermaneuver. Attack the enemy's capital to relieve the siege on the front lines. He reached out and captured the enemy's 2 highest-ranking officials. That did it. Jenna, now thoroughly enraged, bit down harder while viciously pinching the soft flesh of his waist. The double-barreled assault of pain made Leo grimace. In a final desperate move, he squeezed. Oh my God, it's worth it even if she kills me. This time, Jenna was defeated. She let go of him and scrambled to the far side of the bed, her cheeks flushed, her breathing ragged. Her face was a storm of anger, but beneath it was a hint of something else, something flustered and almost playful. Neither of them dared to speak loudly. The repressed atmosphere was charged with a strange, thrilling energy. Leo looked at the teeth marks on his wrist, a purplish-red indent that was already starting to bleed, and winced. It's bleeding. You promised just once, and then you bite me. Jenna leaned against the wall, her chest rising and falling rapidly. Was that once? Of course it was once. My hand just slipped, Leo denied, shamelessly. You're such a brat. Jenna's face was a beautiful mess of anger and helplessness. She pointed at the door. Get out. Leo put on a wounded expression, though he was secretly thrilled. He grabbed a wristband from his drawer, slipped it over the bite mark, and obediently walked out of the room. Half an hour later, he was called back in, where he was subjected to a few more scoldings, pinches, and light punches. It hurt, but it was a good kind of hurt. He was used to being bitten by her, anyway. The next afternoon, Sophia and Chloe were just arriving at the Linden Creek Galleria, planning to see the movie Love in Disguise. A BMW 5 Series pulled up beside them. Sophia, Trevor called from the driver's seat, smiling and waving. What a coincidence. It would be rude to just walk away. Sophia and Chloe stopped. Trevor quickly parked his car and jogged over to them. Are you guys going shopping? Yeah. What about you? All by yourself? Chloe asked. Oh, I'm meeting some friends for karaoke. You guys want to join? The son of the guy who owns DeHong Group will be there, and so will the heiress of P1.She, Miss Luo. Trevor let a hint of pride slip into his voice, name-dropping to show off his social circle. But the moment Sophia heard this, her interest in the conversation vanished. Son of, heiress of, she hated these kinds of labels that screamed social hierarchy. DeHong Group was well known in their state, and P1.She was a major company in the city. Because of her own family background, she knew a little about them. Her mother constantly warned her to be on high alert if anyone ever referred to her as the Hayes family heiress. Thanks, but we'll pass. You should go on in. Don't keep your friends waiting, Chloe said, expertly reading her friend's mood and knowing Trevor had just stepped on a landmine. Trevor was reluctant to give up. Sophia, Chloe, you've got nothing else to do. Why not come along? We're about to start college. Networking is part of our education, too. What he was more reluctant about was the fact that his final score hadn't even broken 580, while that loser Leo had actually gotten over 630. No thanks, Sophia said with a polite smile. It's fine. I'm sure your mom would want you to participate in beneficial social activities. Trevor tried to persuade them, but he was cut off by another voice. Well, if it isn't Trevor Elite Crap Miller. I seem to recall someone making a bet with me. Leo strolled over with a grin, Ben Carter at his side. Both were holding milk teas. The two had planned on playing pool and had just arrived when they spotted Trevor. They'd been wondering how they were going to get him to pay up on his bet, and here he was delivered right to them. Interrupted, Trevor looked flustered. It was just a joke. You guys actually took it seriously? I knew you had it in you, your top-tier university material all the way. Is that so? Leo watched him, a playful glint in his eye. I like the sound of that. Keep the compliments coming. Trevor's expression soured. A little flattery was one thing, but this guy was milking it. No more compliments? Then you better pay up, asshole. You're a man of your word, right? You wouldn't back out of bet, would you? Leo's expression suddenly turned cold. He knew Trevor would never actually go through with it. A few insults were the most he could hope for. Ben immediately jumped in with a cheerful grin. So, are you going to produce it yourself? Or do you need me to help? Hiv. Don't push it. Trevor snapped, his face turning red. What idiot would actually follow through on that? His eyes darted to Sophia, and he threw his hands up in a gesture of helpless frustration. See? All they do is curse. You can't even have a conversation with them. Sophia pressed her lips together, but didn't say anything. She also thought the asshole was a bit much, but only a bit. It didn't bother her. She used to hate swearing. Why? Am I sick or something? Her gaze had already flickered over to Leo several times, but he still hadn't acknowledged her. What's his deal? He's not even going to look at me? A seed of impatience began to sprout within her. TCH, I knew you'd weasel out of it. You're a professional deadbeat. Nothing new, Leo said with a dismissive shake of his head. Benny, let's go. Yeah, let's go. Guy's a sore loser. Ben snorted. Trevor was fuming, but he knew he was in the wrong and didn't have a comeback. The truth was, he was embarrassed. His score hadn't even broken 560, and he'd been bragging about getting close to 600. Seeing Leo about to leave, the ever-loyal best friend, Chloe, quickly called out, Leo, where are you guys headed? To play pool, Leo said, still not looking at Sophia. Why should he be the first to say hi? He was still mad about the note. We're going to see a movie. Want to come? Chloe gently nudged Sophia's arm. A movie? Leo mulled it over for a second, then shook his head with a smile. Nah, I'm broke. Can't afford a ticket. This was Trevor's cue. Chloe, don't force him. For tickets aren't cheap. Why don't you come to karaoke with me instead? I'll treat you to a movie tonight. Leo turned and started walking away. A wave of disappointment washed over Sophia, but but her pride kept her from speaking up. Chloe immediately sensed it, but didn't intervene this time. Some things had to be handled by the people involved. Just as Leo had walked about 20 paces, the proud, 18-year-old girl finally mustered her courage. "Leo, my treat." Her voice trembled as her pride and some other, unnameable emotion waged a fierce battle within her. The thing she feared most right now was rejection. It would be utterly humiliating. "Well, if someone's treating, you have to go." Leo suddenly spun around, a huge, goofy grin on his face. "Let's go." Getting one over on the school queen was a victory. It felt amazing. Of course he was going. Besides, it was obvious Trevor was trying to ask Sophia out. If he wasn't going to eat crap, Leo could at least make him eat his heart out. "Okay," Sophia breathed, the tension inside her finally releasing. He'd said yes. Her eyes met his, which were crinkling with laughter, and an unexpected joy bloomed inside her. The impatience she'd felt just moments ago vanished. In that moment, she completely forgot about the hooligan incident. She instinctively started walking toward Leo, ignoring everyone else around her. The mind of a simple 18-year-old girl could only hold so much. Chloe gave Trevor an awkward wave. "Bye-bye. You better get to karaoke before your friends get tired of waiting." The four of them walked into the mall, leaving Trevor standing there, his face ashen. He spat on the ground. TCH, leeching off a girl for a movie ticket. Pathetic and shameless. Fuming, he stalked toward the elevator that went directly to the KTV lounge, his mind filled with images of the dog and bitch watching a movie together. The movie theater was nearly empty in the afternoon. Leo, returning the favor, bought 2 milk teas and a popcorn for the ladies. "Thanks," Sophia said, taking the drink without daring to look at him. But she felt surprisingly relaxed, a feeling like a warm spring day blooming inside her. When no one was looking, Ben shot Leo a thumbs up. "Nice." They were just in time for a showing that was about to start. They had their tickets checked and walked into the darkened theater. Chloe and Ben went first. Leo was last. It was dark, and Sophia must have missed a step because she stumbled on the edge of the stairs. In a flash, Leo's hand shot out and grabbed her waist, steadying her before she could fall. His hand found her waist slender and soft, a perfect handful. In the summer, the thin fabric of her clothes was practically non-existent. Hand says nice. Brain says awesome. Squeeze it. Hand immediately gives a little squeeze. In the dim light, Sophia's cheeks flushed crimson. A tingle spread from her waist through her entire body, and she almost went limp. Her waist was extremely sensitive, other than being held by her father as a child. This was the first time a boy had ever touched her there. And it was that hooligan. Not only did he touch her, he squeezed her. She wasn't stupid. She knew he'd done it on purpose. This was exactly the kind of forward behavior her mother had warned her about. But what was so strange was, why wasn't she repulsed? She must be really sick. She forced her body to stand steady and even managed a polite, quiet, "Thank you." Thankfully, Leo let go, releasing her from that strange, stimulating pressure. Up ahead, Chloe looked back. She couldn't see clearly, but she had a feeling something had just happened. They found their seats in the order they'd entered. Leo on the aisle, then Sophia, then Chloe and Ben. Just as they sat down, the movie began. Leo had no memory of this film. He wasn't a fan of romance movies anyway. He was just here to kill time. He took a sip of his milk tea, then reached into the space between the seats to grab some popcorn. His hand landed not on popcorn, but on another, smaller hand. That hand recoiled as if it had been electrocuted. So smooth, Leo thought with a wicked grin. He grabbed a handful of popcorn and popped in his mouth, savoring a taste he hadn't had in a long time. For a connoisseur of all kinds of films, this movie was boring. Bored out of his mind, Leo reached for the popcorn again. And as luck would have it, he once again grabbed that small hand. This time, before it could escape, Leo's hand shot out and captured it. It was cool to the touch, smooth and delicate. The poor little hand struggled, tried to escape the devil's grasp, but it was afraid of letting the other two find out. But the devil was too strong, his grip firm. No matter how hard Sophia pulled, she couldn't get free. She was panicked and mortified. Hooligan. Dirty hooligan. How could he be like this? He's so bad. Finally, exhausted, she gave up the struggle, letting her hand rest in his warm, large one. Leo smirked to himself. "You think you can escape once you're caught? Not a chance. Going to tell the teacher? We've graduated. Going to tell your mom? Would you dare?" Hit. The flickering light from the screen occasionally illuminated Sophia's face. Her lower lip caught between her teeth, her cheeks flushed. Her eyes, seemingly focused on the movie, were actually swimming with a turbulent tide of emotions, making them look watery and bright. After a while, Leo grew restless. He reached over with his other hand and began to gently knead her delicate fingertips. The nerves in her fingers sent shivers through her heart. Sophia started to struggle again, but it was useless. No, stop it, you creep. Her rational mind knew this was wrong. She was being harassed. Her mother would be furious if she found out. She had no idea what the movie was about. When Chloe occasionally leaned over to discuss the plot, she couldn't really hear her, just mumbled a few non-committal ahas. In the darkness, she turned her head slightly, her eyes pleading with him to let go. But Leo was staring at the screen, looking completely engrossed in the film. Helpless, Sophia turned her gaze back to the screen. If Mom finds out about this, there'll be trouble. There was only one thing to do. She had to keep it a secret. For over an hour, Sophia didn't register a single frame of the movie. Her mind was a dizzying fog. It wasn't until the credits rolled and the demonic hand released hers that she let out a sigh of relief, which was immediately followed by a strange sense of loss. By the time the movie ended, Leo had gathered detailed data on the dimensions of her delicate hand. He hadn't pushed his luck by invading other territories, focusing solely on his captured prize. Best not to overdo it. As they walked out of the theater, Sophia tugged on her friend's arm. Chloe, let's go home. I just remembered I have something to do. Huh? We're leaving already? Don't you want to shop around? And why is your face so red? Chloe asked, confused. They had planned to spend the afternoon at the mall. It was probably just too hot in there. Maybe next time, okay? Sophia said, her expression calm, but inside she was squirming. She felt sticky and uncomfortable, and a dreadful thought crossed her mind. Did I get my period? Okay, sure, Chloe agreed. The two said goodbye to Leo and Ben and left. Women are so weird, Ben said. Leo, my man, let's go shoot some pool. He found pool much more interesting than movies. Leo glanced at Sophia's retreating figure. She was walking with her legs held just a little too close together, and felt a pang of guilt. Yeah, okay, he agreed. Deep in his subconscious, two little figures were arguing. One was named Guilt, the other Awesome. Guilt said, "You're a creep, taking advantage of an innocent girl." Awesome said, "It's called revenge. A gentleman always gets his revenge." They threw their arms around each other's shoulders and headed for the pool hall on the 5th floor. Downstairs, just as Sophia and Chloe stepped out of the mall, they ran into Trevor Miller again. He was with a group of other young men and women, all dressed in trendy, logo-emblazoned brand name clothes. They reeked of money. Sophia. Trevor's heart soared. They were done already? They must not have had a good time. Of course not. What fun could you have with two broke losers? Sophia was a bit out of it. Only Chloe glanced at him, waved goodbye, and then the two of them hurried toward the street to hail a cab. Trevor was deeply disappointed, but he did notice that Sophia's running posture was a little strange. She probably had a pee. Trevor, who was that? The pretty one, asked a young man in an Armani t-shirt and a gold chain, his fluffy hair dyed blonde. Oh, a classmate. School beauty. And a friend of mine, Trevor said, casually attaching the label to himself. Think you could introduce us? The Armani youth asked with a sleazy grin. The others chimed in, egging him on. No way, I wouldn't dare. Don't even think about it. Her dad is that guy in the city, Trevor said, holding up one finger to signify the #1 official. What's the big deal? It's just a friendly pursuit. We can all hang out, right? The Armani youth looked surprised, but wasn't deterred. In fact, he seemed intrigued. Bagging the daughter of the city's top official would be a major score. If only it were that simple, Trevor said with a wry smile. He held up one finger again and lowered his voice. Her uncle is a big shot at the state level. The Armani youth's expression changed instantly, and he dropped the subject. That was a government department to be feared, especially the #1 person in it. Given the nature of his family's business, it was best to stay as far away as possible. 20 minutes later, Sophia was home. She rushed to her room, took off her underwear, and stared in disbelief. She changed into a clean pair, quickly washed the soiled one, and then turned on her computer. She Googled the source of her inner turmoil. The search results left her stunned, then mortified, her face burning with shame. So embarrassing. How could this happen? She stared at the screen for a few more seconds, then couldn't bear to look anymore. She stumbled over to her bed, fell onto it, covered her face, and curled into a ball, her body feverish. The image of his smiling face, those two teasing winks, and the scene from the movie theater flashed through her mind. A tremor ran through Sophia, from her body to her very soul. That person is so bad. She swore fiercely to herself, biting her lip. I'm never, ever watching a movie with him again. It was official. She was definitely sick. The Westwood Apartments. After dinner, Leo plugged the new Ethernet cable into his laptop. He eagerly opened it, but his enthusiasm quickly faded. His 2010-era laptop was only marginally faster than a snail. Still, it was good enough for browsing websites and using QQ Messenger. He had a friend request. He opened it. Who is Verdun Muse? The request came from a group chat. He checked the class group. It was Sophia. He accepted. He tried to add her before, but she never responded. After accepting, he didn't say anything. Instead, he focused on researching the World Cup, trying to jog his memory of the match results. It was nearly midnight before he finally shut down the computer, rubbing his tired eyes. A silent grin spread across his face. His memory had yielded results. Not many, but enough to build his initial capital. It was 2010. Starting a business from scratch was a pipe dream. His only hope was to use the small bits of information he could recall from the future to make some money. He couldn't remember a single lottery number, and even if he could, it wouldn't help. The only fixed results he could bet on were from the World Cup. He only had $200 in cash. He'd given all the graduation money to his mom, not daring to ask for any of it back. She would have demanded a reason, and she would never approve of gambling. The next morning, he took his money to a small convenience store that also ran a sports betting pool. With the World Cup in full swing, the place was packed. Most people were betting on wins, losses, or draws, but Leo only bet on the total number of goals in a single match. Specifically, the June 27th match, Germany versus England. The odds were 16-1. If his memory was correct, the final score was 4-1, for a total of 5 goals. He put all $2,000 down. A small seed of doubt sprouted in his mind. What if the butterfly effect had changed the outcome? If it had, he'd just have to accept his bad luck and figure out how to explain to his parents that he wasn't a degenerate gambler. In this era, betting $2,000 on the World Cup wasn't a huge deal. Some people were dropping tens of thousands, so no one paid him much mind. The store owner looked at him with pity and offered a friendly warning. Betting on total goals is a long shot, kid. It's all luck. I'm just guessing for fun. If I don't win, I'll stop, Leo said with a goofy, harmless smile. The owner shook his head and printed out the betting slip. Leo carefully tucked it into his pocket. He went home and waited, agonizingly, until 10 o'clock on the night of the 27th, when the match began. Leo was completely engrossed, so nervous he didn't even drink a sip of water until it was all over. Germany 4, England 1. Yes, I remember correctly. Leo pumped his fist in excitement. At 16-1 odds, his $200 had just become $3,200. A single win under $10,000 wasn't subject to taxes. He'd get to keep the full amount. He was rich. Leo was thrilled. Now, when was Germany's next match? He opened the notebook where he'd jotted down his memories. July 3 RD. The night Leo was watching the game, a conversation was taking place in the Hayes household. Helen Hayes, a stern-looking, middle-aged woman with short hair and glasses, was speaking to her daughter. Is there something on your mind lately? You can tell me. Of course. I'm just thinking about starting college, Sophia said, her heart fluttering with anxiety, but her face remained calm. She knew her mother too well. This kind of sit-down conversation meant she'd noticed something. Helen observed her daughter's expression, then changed the subject. That boy who came in second in the county, Leo Foster, is he in your class? She already knew the answer. She'd been the first to know the scores. Yes, Mom. Why? Sophia's heart pounded, but she maintained her composure. But what chance did her simple act have against a woman who had been a high-powered executive for years? Nothing, just curious. What kind of person is he? Helen continued, her tone casual. Well, I don't know him that well. We barely talk. But he seems... Okay. Sophia's mind involuntarily conjured an image of Leo's face, but she quickly suppressed it. Helen's brow furrowed slightly. What school did he apply to? I think Northwood State, too. Did he apply there because you did? What? No. Sophia was so startled, she waved her hands frantically. I really don't talk to him. We're his classmates. I'm in the pre-law program. He's in the business school. They're on opposite sides of campus. They weren't, really, but she had to make them sound far apart. Helen's expression softened slightly. She was silent for a few seconds, then asked abruptly, Are you dating him? What? Sophia froze, her mind racing. Every neuron fired at once. If she answered this wrong, there would be serious trouble. She put on a look of disbelief. How could you think that? Mom, you're being ridiculous. I'm not going to date anyone before my sophomore year, and even if I did, he's not my type. Helen's expression remained neutral, but the suspicion in her eyes faded into a kind of grudging acceptance. Her daughter had always been proud and obedient. If she were to fall for someone, it would be for a truly outstanding young man. After a moment, Helen didn't press further. Fine. There will be many exceptional people in college. Don't rush into a relationship. Observe first. I know, Mom. Sophia said dutifully. And she wasn't lying. They weren't dating. He just held her hand. That didn't count, right? Right, it doesn't count. Besides, that jerk didn't seem to have any interest in her anyway. He hadn't sent her a single message in days. He was such a jerk. She would never, ever date a jerk like that. The next morning, Leo, blissfully unaware of his new jerk label, took his betting slip and ID and headed to the state lottery office in Clearwater City. Linden Creek was too small to have its own claim center. The bus ride took over an hour. With the World Cup going on, the lottery office was bustling. Anyone with a winning ticket over $1,000 had to come here to claim their prize. The process wasn't too complicated. After verifying his ticket, they gave him a cashier's check. In 2010, the Clearwater City Lottery office didn't have an on-site bank for direct deposits. Leo carefully pocketed the check, keeping his hand in his pocket, clutching it tightly, paranoid that some pickpocket might be watching him. In this day and age, everyone knew why people came to the lottery office. It was better to be safe than sorry. The issuing bank was just around the corner. Leo dodged anyone who tried to walk too close to him. He didn't relax his guard even after entering the bank. He opened a new checking account, the kind that could accept transfers from the lottery commission. His hand remained in his pocket, clutching the new debit card. Pickpockets on the bus were common back then. He didn't truly relax until he was back home in his own room. Lying on his bed, Leo waved the debit card in the air, kissing it over and over. "You're my ticket to riches, my friend." Ding, ding, ding. The QQ Messenger notification sound chimed from his laptop. Leo figured it was Ben. He sat down at his desk. But the message was from Verdant Muse. "What are you doing?" In his past life, he learned that when someone asks you, "What are you doing?" the subtext is, "I'm thinking of you." So, Leo replied directly, "Thinking of you?" Then he went back to lying on his bed, grinning at his bank card. Half an hour later, the ding-ding-ding sounded again. Did she reply? Curious, Leo sat back down at his desk. It was a message in the class group chat. It was from Trevor Miller. "Hey everyone, anyone want to go to a bar to watch the World Cup tonight? All drinks on me all night long." Several guys and girls immediately replied, "Count me in. Trevor, at Sophia Hayes at Chloe Davis. You guys should come." A few other students chimed in. "Yeah, everyone should go. It'll be fun. We'll all be at different colleges soon. It'll be hard to get together." Sophia Hayes, "Thanks, but it's too loud for me." Chloe Davis, "Thanks, I'll pass too." Trevor, "Okay, for everyone who's coming, meet at the Cottonwood Bar at 9 tonight." About a dozen students replied that they would be there. Just then, a male classmate asked, "Trevor, aren't you betting on the World Cup? Did you win?" Trevor, "It's not that easy. I was just playing for fun. Lost over $6,000 yesterday. A friend of mine lost 15. A girl replied with a shocked emoji. "Wow, you guys talk about 6 and 15 grand like it's nothing." Trevor, "Don't even get me started. My dad chewed me out. Said no matter how much money he makes, it's not enough for me to waste." Leo decided to stop reading. There was no point in watching Mr. "Ill Eat Crap" Miller brag. But then, a message came in from Ben. "Ben Carter, at Leo Foster. Want to go play pool this afternoon?" Leo figured it wouldn't hurt to go out. Leo Foster, at Ben Carter, sure. Meet me downstairs at the mall at 2. At 2 o'clock, Leo arrived at the mall. To his surprise, Ben wasn't alone. Sophia and Chloe were there too, chatting with him. "Leo, man, you're slow," Ben complained. Leo smiled. A real man is never rushed. "Hey, Leo," Chloe greeted him. "Hey, Chloe," Leo replied with a smile, then nodded at Sophia. "Fancy seeing you here." The school beauty was wearing a white t-shirt with a khaki-colored jumper dress, her long, slender calves bare and smooth, radiating youthful charm. She was sipping an iced lemon tea, her expression cool. "Hi," Sophia said, her eyes barely meeting Leo's before quickly darting away. But she could still feel his gaze on her legs. She pretended to watch the traffic on the street, but inside, she was a nervous wreck. His eyes had a distinct, "I want to squeeze them" kind of aggression. "You guys shopping again?" Leo asked, thinking to himself, "Damn, her legs are amazing." "Yeah, nothing better to do," Chloe answered. "All right, well, you guys have fun. We're going to go play some pool. Benny, let's head up." Leo turned to leave. "Shopping? I don't buy it." "She wants to tag along." "Okay," Chloe nodded. Ben said his goodbyes and followed Leo. Watching his confident back disappear in a mall, Sophia bit down hard on her straw, her pretty face falling. A wave of indignation washed over her. "He didn't even invite me. Fine. I'm never letting you play with my fingers again," she vowed silently. Chloe was about to ask her friend where she wanted to go when she saw her expression. A light bulb went off in her head. She turned and yelled after the two boys, "Leo, Ben, can you guys take us with you to play pool?" Cole stopped in his tracks. Of course. They want to crash their game. Well, he thought, glancing back at the girls with legs like that, why not? He caught Leo's questioning gaze and gave a slight nod. Sure, have them join. You heard the man. Let's go, Leo called out, waving the two girls over. Chloe beamed, grabbing her friend's arm. Serena, come on, let's play pool. My legs are killing me from all this walking. Fine. Serena drew out the word, pretending to deliberate before giving a reluctant nod. If you insist. Watching her best friend's expression shift from a carefully constructed pout to a poorly hidden glimmer of excitement, Chloe sighed internally. You're a goner, girl. And if you end up hating me for being the go-between, we're gonna have words. She was genuinely curious what kind of spell this Cole guy had cast to turn the cool, collected Serena into this. If her mother, Mrs. Vance, ever found out, yikes, she'd be dead. A two-person game of pool turned into a lively foursome. Serena's presence, in particular, drew the eyes of nearly every guy in the hall. In Linden Creek, her looks were top tier. Cole figured only Jazz could give her a run for her money. Now that they were all playing together, Cole didn't give Serena the cold shoulder, chatting with her as naturally as he did with Chloe. Before long, the game had morphed into a duel between Cole and Serena. Both had a sharp eye for angles and a precise touch, making them evenly matched. By comparison, Leo and Chloe's skills were a wreck, and they soon became spectators. Hey Cole, Leo asked suddenly. You put any money on the World Cup? Sure did. Win or lose? Came out ahead. Nothing crazy, just a few grand, Cole said with a grin. A few grand? You for real? Leo's eyes widened. Which game? He instinctively wanted to disbelieve it, but for some reason, he found himself trusting Cole. Serena and Chloe were stunned, too. A few grand? That was serious money. Chloe was a casual sports bettor and was instantly intrigued. Serena was just along for the ride. She didn't even know what a betting slip looked like. For real. Germany versus England, Cole said, nodding seriously. He wouldn't bring it up himself, but if his boy wanted in, he didn't mind sharing the wealth. A flush crept up Leo's neck, his face taking on the intensity of a gambler who'd just decided to go all in. Dude, you have to let me in on the next one. I'm already down $500. You trust me? You won't blame me if you lose. Cole asked, deliberately grabbing a piece of chalk and working it over his Q-tip. The smooth, deliberate motion made Serena's mind flash back to that day, and she felt a heat rise in her cheeks, her fingertips tingling. Cole continued, and just so you know, I only bet on total goals. It's pure luck. You know me, man. I can take a loss, Leo said, thumping his chest. He pointed at Cole. No regrets if it goes south. All right, I'll hit you up on Facebook Messenger before the next game. Cole smiled. He knew Leo had a gambling streak. Years from now, it would lead to him getting scammed in a bad investment, forcing his family to sell their butcher shop to cover the debt. It wasn't until Cole brought him in on a farm-to-table supply business that he got back on his feet. Chloe wasn't about to be left out. Hey, Cole, don't treat me like a stranger. Count me in. She'd lost over 300 herself, but had been too embarrassed to say anything. You trust me? Cole looked at her, a half-smile playing on his lips. I do, Chloe said. Her inner thought was more pragmatic. You managed to tame the untouchable princess, Serena Vance. Betting on one of your tips seems like a much safer gamble. Fine, you're in. It was the betting site's money, anyway. Free cash for the taking. Thanks, Cole. Chloe beamed. Serena reached into the pocket of her sundress, her fingers fiddling with something inside. She opened her mouth to speak several times, but hesitated. She wanted to ask Cole to place a bet for her, just to feel involved, but his cool expression made her afraid of hearing him say no. The blow to her pride would be too much. Her small fidgeting didn't escape Cole's notice. He glanced over at the school's reigning queen. You want into? A faint blush touched the tips of Serena's ears. She pulled out 5 crisp $20 bills. I don't know how to do it. Could you? Could you do it for me? You won't blame me if it loses, Cole stated, his tone flat. I won't, Serena whispered, shaking her head. So, what's in it for me if you win? Cole gave her a sly wink. You can have half. Serena didn't care about the money. She'd never even tell her mom about this. Nah, don't need it. If you win, you have to take me to a movie. How about it? Cole watched her, his gaze intense and unwavering. Huh. Serena froze, the blush on her ears spreading down her neck as her heart hammered against her ribs. This degenerate is definitely up to something. Then a new thought surfaced. So what? I can just say no to whatever he tries, right? It's just a movie, and that's if I even win. Okay, she agreed. Deal. Cole took the bills, tucking them into his pocket with a private smirk. Another chance for a little payback. When their time at the pool hall was up, the 4 of them left them all. On the way out, Leo was practically buzzing. Man, I feel like Serena's totally different now. I was shocked when she came to the movies with us last time, and now pool. What's going on? Is she? I hadn't noticed. How could you not? She actually agreed to take you to a movie. Alone. Who would even believe that? She was probably just being polite. Yeah, I guess, Leo conceded. No way she'd actually go see a movie alone with you. I'm not even thinking about it. I have another question, though. Why'd she give you the money to place her bet instead of Chloe? Why do you have so many questions? I just feel like something's happening that I don't know about. Back at his apartment, his mom, Sharon, was still out with Jasmine's mom, who was at a doctor's checkup. But Cole heard a noise coming from his room. He pushed the door open. Sure enough, it was Jasmine, typing away on his computer's Facebook Messenger. It wasn't strange that she had a key. Go downstairs and get me an ice cream bar, she ordered without turning around. Okay. Cole obediently headed back downstairs, grabbing one for himself while he was at it. Jasmine was wearing a pale, yellow sundress today, one leg crossed over the other, a high-heeled sandal dangling precariously from her toes as she swung her foot back and forth. Cole unwrapped the ice cream bar and held it out. Jasmine took a bite directly from his hand, not even bothering to take it herself. Her fingers were flying across the keyboard. She didn't have a free hand. Cole was used to it. It had always been like this, him standing there, waiting on his older sister. He snuck a peek at the computer screen. A dozen chat windows were blinking. Most were from guys, but Jasmine was ignoring them all, engrossed in a group chat with a few girls. It was all school gossip and talk about their favorite bands. After finishing the last bite of her ice cream, Jasmine patted her own shoulder. Cole sighed. He should have come home later. Playing servant wasn't enough. Now he had to be her personal masseuse. He quickly finished his own ice cream, then placed his hands on her shoulders and began to knead with just the right amount of pressure. After a few moments of massaging, he glanced down. And just like that, he wasn't tired anymore. Jasmine pointed to a picture of a border collie someone had posted in the chat. Cute, right? Cute, Cole replied automatically. Jasmine turned her head, and her eyes immediately followed his wandering gaze. She looked down at herself, and a deep blush instantly flooded her face. She shot up from the chair, pushing and swatting at him in a flurry of embarrassment and anger. You pervert. What are you looking at? Hey, why are you hitting me again? Cole backed away, not daring to fight back. Because you deserve it. She pushed him all the way to the edge of his bed. With nowhere left to retreat, he tumbled backward onto the mattress. Jasmine clearly wasn't finished. She straddled him, her long legs pinning him down, and viciously pinched the soft tissue on his chest. Ow, ow, ow. Cole yelped, begging for mercy. The searing pain was unbearable, but he didn't dare push her off. Will you do it again? Huh? Will you? She demanded, her face inches from his. Suddenly, she froze, her entire body rigid. Her expression turned strange. After 2 seconds of dead silence, she let out a shriek and scrambled off of him like a startled rabbit. Her face was crimson with a mixture of shame, anger, and panic. You're disgusting. How could you? With your own sister. Before the words had even faded, she bolted from the room. Cole lay there, mortified. That wasn't my fault, he thought, though he couldn't help but feel a little guilty. He lifted his t-shirt. Damn. A few purple bruises were already forming, stinging painfully. Jazz was brutal. But was it really my fault? He wondered, trying to convince himself. The cut on his wrist hadn't even healed, and now he had new injuries. Life was tough. After dinner, Cole sent the World Cup results to Leo and Chloe. July 3rd, Germany 4, Argentina 0. Total goals, 4. He told them he was just guessing, that they shouldn't go crazy. They both promised they were just betting a little for fun, which put his mind at ease. Leo's family owned 3 stalls at the farmer's market, and Chloe's family owned a mid-sized grocery store, so a few $100 was nothing to them. The next day, Cole slung his backpack over his chest and headed to the bank first, withdrawing $24,000 in cash. Then he went to a different state lottery office, one farther from his neighborhood. He casually told the clerk he was picking up the tickets for a few of his older relatives. The clerk didn't find it strange, and the other people in line gave him fewer weird looks when he started counting out the cash. Cole tucked the betting slips safely away and went home to wait for the 10 p.m. kickoff. Germany versus Argentina in the quarterfinals. As the match progressed, his Facebook Messenger buzzed with excited messages from Leo and Chloe. Having bet everything on this game, Cole was a nervous wreck, his heart pounding with every play. Finally, the final whistle blew. 4-0. He leaped to his feet, pumping his fists in the air. The payout for this game was lower, with odds of 5-8-1, but the return was still substantial. His messenger lit up with triumphant messages. Leo, all hail the prophet Cole. I am your humble disciple. Teach me your ways. You have to let me in on the next one. Please. My future with the ladies depends on you. Chloe, Cole, you're a freaking psychic. Cole grinned and typed back. How much did you guys make? Leo, a little under 20 grand. Chloe, over 10 for me. What? Cole was shocked. They said they were just playing for fun, but they must have each bet a couple thousand. There was no message from Serena. It was late, and he figured the good girl was probably already asleep. Just as he was about to shut down his computer, an idea struck him. He sent her a message. I'll get you the money after I cash the ticket tomorrow. He deliberately didn't mention the movie. He wanted to create the impression that it was just an offhand joke, that he didn't care whether she followed through or not. Some things, when brought up, become an obligation. It's better to let them come to you. That's how you stay in control. He slept in until 9:30 a.m. It was the weekend, so his dad, Mark, was off work. Cole could hear him downstairs chatting with the neighbors about the game. He could also hear the clacking of mahjong tiles. That was definitely his mom, Sharon. Back then, there weren't many dedicated game parlors. People just set up a table in a shady spot downstairs. In the kitchen, there was leftover stir-fried pork. All he had to do was boil some noodles and pour it on top. After washing up, Cole made himself breakfast. Full and satisfied, he slung his backpack on and headed out without even checking his messages. As he left the building, he waved to his parents. Kiddo, be back early and be safe. Sharon called out. Got it, Mom. A neighbor looked at Sharon with envy. Mrs. Chun, your Cole is such a good kid. I guess he's growing up, Sharon said, her eyes filled with a joy she couldn't hide. Ever since he'd hugged her that one day, it was like he'd reverted to being a little boy again, obedient, helpful with chores, and always ready to talk. The thought that he would soon be leaving for Eastwood University made her heart ache with reluctance. 2 hours later, Cole was at the Rockford City Lottery Management Center. A lot of people have been cashing in on World Cup winnings lately, so the staff didn't recognize him, which was good. His after-tax winnings came to $111,360, plus Serena's $2,900, which he cashed at the same time. The clerk was a bit surprised. It was rare to see someone bet so much on total goals, let alone win. Cole explained again that it was a pool among a bunch of relatives, which made it seem more plausible. This time, he didn't have to take a check. The winnings could be directly transferred to his bank card, which saved a lot of hassle. After receiving the money, Cole wasn't as ecstatic as the first time. He felt calm. To the average person, over $100,000 was a huge amount of money, but it was nowhere near enough to start a real business. In 2010, Tencent's market cap was already approaching $50 billion. The world was dominated by corporate giants. The idea of using some insider knowledge to compete with them was a joke. They'd eat him alive in an instant. The road ahead was long. Quietly accumulating wealth and secretly building his own ventures was the only way. It was after 2 p.m. when he got back to Linden Creek. He withdrew $2,900 in cash and went to Chloe's family's grocery store. She was at the cash register. Chloe, can you give this to Serena for me? Cole didn't know what Serena's family did or where she lived. It was easier not to get involved. Keep it simple. Why don't you give it to her yourself? Chloe said cheerfully, grabbing the most expensive ice cream bar from the freezer and handing it to him. Cole didn't refuse. I'm busy. Don't have time to track her down. Aren't you supposed to have her take you to a movie? Chloe was confused. She then pulled a carton of Marlboros from under the counter. For your dad. No, thanks, he doesn't smoke. The ice cream's plenty, Cole said, pushing the cigarettes away and taking a bite. We'll figure out the movie thing some other time. I got stuff to do. Later. He turned and walked away. Hey, Cole. Chloe called after him. Let me know the next time you place a bet. I'll message you, Cole said without turning back, giving a casual wave. Chloe stood there, frozen, watching him go. She felt like Cole had changed so much. He seemed more mature, more confident. If it weren't for her best friend, she'd probably be making a move herself. She glanced down at her own chest and sighed. Half an hour later, Chloe met up with Serena and explained what happened. Oh, okay. I even sent him a message to thank him. Serena's expression was placid, but a flicker of disappointment crossed her bright eyes, and her mood sank. What's his deal? I already agreed to take him to a movie, and now he's acting like this. Her pride and self-respect stung with a sense of rejection. It was no different than being turned down flat. Fine. What's the big deal? I could just let him play with my fingers again if he really wanted to, couldn't I? As soon as Cole got back to the millworks, he ran into his mom heading out to do groceries. Kiddo, want to come with me? Sharon asked, holding a canvas tote bag, her eyes full of hope. At your service, Your Majesty. Cole grinned and took the bag from her. Sharon's face lit up. Mother and son walked out together, her arm linked through his, basking in the envious glances of their neighbors. It was rare to see a mother and son so close. Most teens wouldn't be caught dead so near their parents. People constantly greeted Mrs. Chun and threw a compliment Cole's way, which delighted her to no end. Cole watched his mother's expressions, a mix of warmth and heartache filling him. In his past life, by the time she was 50, she had looked worn down and old. It wasn't until after dinner that Cole finally opened his laptop and checked his messages. A message from Serena. There's no rush on the money. When did you want to see that movie? That one was from the morning. There was another, sent more recently. Are you going to be busy? I did promise to take you to a movie. Thinking of her soft little hand, Cole felt a flicker of temptation, but he immediately suppressed it. He brazenly replied, Actually, yeah, I'm a bit busy. I'm planning to brush up on my English so I can read international finance books in college. It was complete nonsense. Most of those books had translations, but in 2010, the obsession with learning English was real, so his excuse wouldn't sound out of place. Her profile picture was grayed out. No reply. Cole pushed the thought of chatting aside and started surfing the web, trying to absorb as much current event information as he could. Half an hour later, Serena replied, Oh, okay. Smiley face. Cole ignored it. 10 minutes later, another message came through. Do you need a partner to practice your spoken English? Cole still ignored it. His status was set to invisible. His philosophy was simple. The key is to keep her guessing. A push and pull. Never let her know if you're all in or about to walk away. In his jaded past life, he had learned that lesson inside and out. After waiting a full hour, Cole sent a deliberately cocky reply. I'd better study on my own. You smell too good. I get distracted. If he had said something like that before, it would have just been creepy. But now, things are different. A little playful teasing was just what he needed to get her wrapped around his finger. She replied almost instantly. Oh, okay. Meanwhile, in the district apartments, Serena stared at the chat window, a shy smile unconsciously gracing her lips. So that's what it was. He wasn't blowing her off. She leaned down and sniffed her shoulder. Do I smell good? I can't smell anything. She sniffed her hand. There was a faint scent, probably from her hand lotion. Staring at her long, slender fingers, she drifted off in thought. So when will he be done being busy? Still, he's so driven. He just graduated, and he's already thinking about studying. He's completely different from other guys. On July 7th, Cole went to yet another lottery office. He bet on the July 8th match. Germany 0, Spain 1. Total goals 1. Odds 4. 2 to 1. Stealing himself, he put the entire $110,000 in. He paid by card. The office had a machine, so there was no loud cash counting to draw attention. Cole's heart pounded with anxiety. He was terrified the outcome might change. His rebirth was itself the biggest variable of all. He shared his prediction with Leo and the girls again, but this time he warned them not to bet much. A small win was better than a big loss if things went wrong. This would be the last game he'd share. Guessing right twice could be a coincidence. 3 times would be harder to explain. He didn't want to be treated like some kind of freak with supernatural powers. The game started at 10 p.m. Cole watched, on edge, through every agonizing minute. Thank God, the result didn't change. Cole let out a huge sigh of relief. It's in the bag. The next day, he was back at the Rockford City Lottery Center. The staff looked at him with open astonishment as he came to cash in yet another winning ticket. This amount was still not enough to cause a major stir. Just yesterday, a betting syndicate had cashed in a ticket worth over $1 million, but it was significant. He opened his laptop back home to an ecstatic message from Leo. Cole, my man, you are a god. Another $20K in the bank. Haha. We got to celebrate soon. I'm buying. Cole smiled and replied, Sounds good. I'll let you know when I have some free time. Chloe. Cole, thank you so much. You're incredible. Let me buy you dinner. Cole rejected her without a second thought. Dinner's not necessary. I'm busy lately. He wasn't about to waste time having dinner with flat-chested Chloe. Serena's icon was blinking too. He clicked on it. Cole, I bet on it too. You're amazing. How did you guess that? Cole replied with a cheeky grin. I've got skills that are even more amazing. But he knew the flirtatious comment would be lost on her. The campus queen was likely too innocent to get it. Sure enough, Serena replied. Really? Where are they? Can you share them with me sometime? When are you free? In 2010, some girls were genuinely that pure. Not like later on, where you could be talking about corn on the cob, and they'd be thinking about something else entirely. Cole sighed at the thought, then shamelessly replied, We'll see. College is getting closer. I need to focus on getting ready. The class group chat was also buzzing. Kevin at Tyler. How much did you win this time? Tyler at Kevin. Don't even ask. Lost another 20 grand. My buddy lost 90. Ugh, I'm done. Hannah at Tyler. 20 grand? That's insane. You could have taken us all out for karaoke with that. Tyler at Hannah. Karaoke is nothing. Anyone who wants to go, just say the word. Leo at everyone. What's so glorious about losing money that you have to brag about it? Maddie. Leo, he's got money to burn. That's chump change to him. The chat exploded as everyone piled on. Leo, fed up, went offline. Cole smirked. Good. Lose more. It's not like his family's gravel pit couldn't cover it. He decided to add some fuel to the fire. Puffed. Losing that little is nothing. I've got a friend who lost 300 grand without blinking. What you lost is pocket lint. The group chat went silent. Cole has a friend that rich? Everyone in the chat couldn't help but think back to how Cole had acted that day. Tyler, I don't believe a single word you're saying at Cole. Cole, whether you believe me or not is your problem. You're the last person who should be talking about credibility. You still haven't made good on your promise. Maddie, what did Tyler promise you? At Cole, don't go making things up. Leo, whose icon had been grayed out, suddenly reappeared. Tyler made a bet that day. If Cole scored over 630, he'd eat shit. He's been stalling ever since. If you don't believe me, ask Serena and Chloe. They were there. Class group chat. Maddie, Serena, and Chloe remained silent. It was too embarrassing to comment on. Tyler's icon was now gray. He logged off. Cole grinned. That was a line best delivered by Leo. It had more impact. He said goodbye to Leo and logged off himself. He had no interest in sticking around to help them all get rich. After closing his laptop, Cole was feeling fired up. He excitedly opened a web browser, a certain urge taking over. Damn, what were those free porn site URLs back in 2010? Just as he was racking his brain, the door swung open. Only one person ever entered without knocking. Jasmine, get up. I need to inspect your computer. She grabbed Cole's left ear and yanked him upwards. Cole yelped in pain, forced to rise with the pull of her hand. He grimaced. That hurts. Why you always pull my ear? It's gonna get deformed. Jasmine ignored him, sat down and grabbed the mouse. She clicked open the browser history, then the bookmarks. Nothing. Next, she opened my computer and meticulously went through the files on every single drive. She found nothing. Jasmine's eyes filled with suspicion. Her roommate had told her that teenage boys definitely look at certain things. Why can't I find anything? She had already come to terms with what happened last time. It was normal for boys to have those reactions. But she was worried it was triggered by looking at porn. Looking at porn was absolutely not allowed. Experts said watching porn seriously harmed one's mental and physical health, which is why she had come over immediately to conduct an inspection. Cole stood behind her, smirking and making faces. He was secretly relieved he hadn't remembered any of those URLs. He would have been caught red-handed. The woman was overbearing, but what could he do? She had jurisdiction. Even if she chased him around the apartment, his parents wouldn't intervene. So, what are you looking for, Jazz? Cole asked, feigning innocence. None of your business. Jasmine snapped, opening the recycling bin next. Oh, Cole pretended to be hurt. Looking at the long, pale nape of her neck, an idea sparked in his mind. He leaned forward, pretending to look at the screen with her. Her light, fresh scent, probably face cream, filled his senses. To his disappointment, she was wearing a tube top today. Seriously? Treating me like a stranger. Cole pouted internally. Jasmine felt his breath on her neck. She whipped a hand back and, with unerring accuracy, latched onto his ear again. You're thinking bad thoughts again, aren't you? She accused, turning her head to glare at him. Their faces were only 4 inches apart. Her fresh, clean scent washed over him. Her glistening, ruby-red lips were right there. Cole swallowed hard and, on some devilish impulse, puckered his lips. The next second, smack! A hand slapped him across the mouth. Ow! Cole clutched his mouth on the verge of tears. That's what you get for puckering. So ugly, Jasmine said with disgust, letting go of his ear. Tonight, you're coming out to dinner with me. A few of my friends are coming. And remember, don't tell them you're my brother. And wear new clothes. I bought you some. They're in the living room. Go change so I can see. Okay. Cole winced, his mouth throbbing. He had to act again. He played this part once before, during her freshman year winter break, but he'd been a naive kid back then and hadn't been very convincing. On the wooden sofa in the living room was a set of clothes and a shoebox. A white Nike t-shirt, gray, casual shorts, and a pair of white sneakers from the same brand. He changed in the bathroom. They fit perfectly. He walked back into the room. Jazz, I'm changed. The moment Jasmine turned around, her eyes lit up. Damn, you look good. Cole was nearly 6 feet tall, with a solid build that filled out the clothes well. He was already handsome, with sharp features and a clean, energetic haircut. Now, with the soul of a battle-hardened, successful, if lecherous, man inside him, his gaze was as calm as still water. To Jasmine, he simply radiated a mature, sunny charisma. She couldn't help but think, this little bastard is going to be a heartbreaker. Nope, I have to help Mom and Dad keep him in line. Barely passable, Jasmine said coolly. It'll have to do. Come here. She pulled a small box from her purse. An early back-to-school present for you. Put it on. What is it? Cole eagerly took the box, recognizing it as a watch case. He opened it. Wow, a solar-powered, waterproof Casio G-Shock. Nice. This thing had to be $400 or $500. He excitedly strapped it to his left wrist, admiring it from every angle. It really suited a handsome guy like him. Jazz, you're the best. Oomph. You just realizing that now. Jasmine sneered. A gift this amazing deserves a thank you kiss. Cole said, shamelessly leaning in. A fragrant hand pressed against his face, stopping him. Kiss my foot. Hey, what are you thinking? I was just overcome with gratitude, Cole said, his face a mask of innocence, though internally he was cringing. He'd deny his real intentions to the grave. Jasmine went back to her messaging, while Cole preened in front of the mirror. Around 5:30 p.m., Jasmine logged off. Let's go. Okay, good. As they were heading downstairs, they ran into Sharon and Mark returning home. Aunt Sharon, Cole, and I are eating out tonight. I'm having him join me and my friends. Okay, honey. Be safe, sweetie, Sharon said with a loving smile, her eyes lighting up as she took in her son's new look. Watching the two of them walk away, Sharon nudged her husband. They look good together, don't they? It would be wonderful if they ended up together. They're already family. Yep, an older woman is a treasure. Let's hope your boy is smart enough to win her. The sun was setting, and the houses on either side of the street blocked the sweltering heat. Cole and Jasmine strolled leisurely toward the mall. The millworks was only about a half-mile from the Creekside Galleria. Today, Jasmine wore a black dress with a knee-length, sheer black overlay. The short skirt underneath offered tantalizing glimpses of her pale, white legs. Paired with crystal-heeled sandals, she looked ethereal. They drew a lot of attention. Every so often, Jasmine would pull Cole aside to avoid a passing car. They chatted and laughed about her adventures in college. Just then, a black Volkswagen Passat approached from behind. It wasn't moving fast, and in the back seat, a girl with a cool, pretty face recognized Cole instantly. Her calm expression fell, replaced by a shadow of gloom. She pressed her face to the window, watching him until he was out of sight before slumping back in her seat, completely lost in thought. The man driving, in his 40s, was handsome and stern, his deep-set eyes holding the steady calm of a seasoned administrator. He glanced at the girl's reaction in the rearview mirror. What is it, Serena? See a classmate? Yes, Dad. For a second, I thought I was mistaken, Serena said, startled. She quickly composed herself, but her heart was in turmoil. A sour feeling she had never experienced before welled up inside her. So much for being busy. You're out strolling around with another girl. She felt wronged and furious. The man glanced in the rearview mirror a few more times, but said nothing more. His daughter was clearly troubled. He'd have to find some time to talk with her. The Creekside Galleria in Linden Creek had only been open a year. It was the busiest, most modern spot in the whole county. The fourth floor was the food court. Jasmine led Cole to a Sichuan-style hot pot restaurant. Cole inwardly grimaced. Hot pot in the middle of summer? Were they trying to sweat out toxins? At a table by the window sat two guys and a girl, all looking to be in their early 20s and dressed fashionably. The guy sitting alone was handsome, with gold-rimmed glasses that gave him a refined air. When he saw Jasmine, his eyes lit up, and he immediately stood up and waved. Jasmine, over here. His gaze flickered to Cole, and his expression darkened for a second. Jasmine just gave a cool, smiling nod. The other two were clearly a couple. They greeted Jasmine, and her attitude toward them was slightly warmer. Their eyes darted curiously toward Cole, but they didn't greet him. Cole took it all in. He knew the score. Someone was trying to set Jasmine up with the guy in glasses. But the seating was awkward. It was a four-person booth. Jasmine, sit, glasses guy said, eagerly pulling out the chair next to him. Thanks. Jasmine smiled, then grabbed Cole's arm. Cole, you sit. I'll just grab a chair for the side. She pulled over a chair from a nearby table. Cole didn't hesitate, plopping down right next to glasses guy. He even smiled at him and said, thanks. The guy's face stiffened, but he maintained his composure. Jasmine, and this is? He asked, trying to sound casual. Oh, this is my... Jasmine trailed off, leaving the relationship ambiguous. But to the other three, the meaning was crystal clear. He was her plus one, her boyfriend. Hey, everyone, I'm Cole, he said with a cheerful smile. Jazz hadn't introduced these people, which meant they weren't important enough to know. They were probably just acquaintances she knew through some obligation. To be honest, he didn't like them. They seemed pushy and lacked basic manners, focused only on getting what they wanted. They had clearly arranged this to get Jazz to play local host and then take glasses guy sightseeing. Jazz wasn't happy about it, but she didn't want to cause a scene, so she'd brought him along as a buffer. Fine, he thought. I could be the bad guy. Trying to make a move on my Jazz? Not on my watch. Glasses guy's expression was stiff. He forced a laugh. Nice to meet you. The other girl looked at Jasmine in surprise. Jasmine, you never told us you were seeing someone. We grew up together. We only just made it official, Jasmine said with a shy smile. That's right. Childhood sweethearts. Practically grew up in the same crib, Cole added shamelessly, taking Jasmine's hand in his. Wow, so soft, so smooth. Jasmine didn't pull away, but 2 roses of color bloomed on her cheeks as she secretly dug her nails into the back of his hand. The other 3 were speechless. They hadn't missed the subtle gesture, and their faces looked like they'd just swallowed something foul. Glasses guy managed 2 weak laughs before falling silent. The atmosphere became intensely awkward. All right, let's eat. Let's eat. They've already brought the food, Cole said, taking charge and gesturing for everyone to start adding ingredients to the bubbling pot. Jasmine immediately played along, picking up a slice of lamb, dipping it into the broth for a perfect 20 seconds, and then placing it in Cole's bowl. You expect me to get myself? Feed me, Cole demanded, pushing his luck, acting like a spoiled brat. All right, I'll feed you. Honestly, Jasmine grumbled, secretly stomping on his foot under the table. The other 3 were stunned. Was this the same fiery, quick-tempered Jasmine they knew? So gentle. The meal was tasteless for the trio. They spent the whole time watching the lovebirds' sickeningly sweet display. Cole, on the other hand, was enjoying being waited on. The real kicker was when he took the chopsticks he'd just eaten with, picked up a piece of beef, and held it to Jasmine's lips. This normally proud, domineering girl actually leaned in and ate it, even making a little slurping sound. Glasses guy's face grew darker and darker. The girl across from him, sensing disaster, kicked her boyfriend under the table. He got the message and said with a forced smile, So, what's your take on the stock market this year? The market? Cole raised an eyebrow. What's this? A pop quiz? Jasmine's face remained impassive. Did it matter if her little brother could handle it? Not at all. If he made things uncomfortable, it was the perfect excuse to leave. Glasses guy, however, perked up. Yeah, we like to dabble in stocks in our free time. You know anything about that? Oh, a little, Cole said, a smirk playing on his lips. If he were a real high school kid, he'd be totally stuck. He wasn't an expert on the stock market, but he had studied it. In his past life, he'd researched it extensively, not to trade himself, but to be able to talk shop with clients. Is that so? Glasses guy chuckled, his eyes filled with disbelief and contempt. Well, given the recent market crash, what do you think is the cause? You trade? Cole asked, not answering the question directly. He wasn't going to just play along. Of course, Glasses guy said, a hint of arrogance in his voice, as if he were already standing on higher ground. Then what kind of impact do you think the government's real estate regulations from earlier this year and the Eurozone debt crisis will have? Cole pressed. Glasses guy was momentarily stunned. He knew about those factors, of course, but he hadn't delved into them deeply, preferring to rely on rumors and tips. I have a general idea, but not a thorough understanding. Could you elaborate? He said, unwilling to back down. He wanted to hear what this kid had to say, so he could find the holes in his argument. Cole saw right through him, but he didn't care. This was a performance for Jazz. He cleared his throat, adopting the posture of a seasoned professor, and began to break down the 2 major factors. He started with how real estate controls led to a drop in steel prices, then moved on to monetary policy, and then to the country's rapid economic growth, which triggered an expansion of production capacity. He went on, weaving a grand narrative. After a while, he abruptly stopped. The next part would have been about which stocks were about to rise, and he didn't want to share that. He looked up and found all 4 of them staring at him, dumbfounded. What? Awestruck? Cole asked, his face blank, not a hint of pride. He calmly picked up a piece of food from his bowl. It didn't matter if he was showing off or not, as long as it made Jazz look good. Dude, that was a brilliant analysis. Keep going. What happens after the production capacity expansion? Glasses guy's previous coldness vanished, replaced by an eager excitement. He grabbed Cole's hands. Huh? Cole was taken aback. What's this? Aren't you supposed to argue with me, to mock me? You really want to hear more? Yes. Not only Glasses guy, but even the neighboring table chimed in. Yeah, kid, keep going. You guys seriously want to hear this? Cole asked again, genuinely surprised. He glanced around. Damn, everyone was looking at him, nodding and smiling. Were these people all gambling addicts? Totally. Your analysis is so logical. I love this stuff. Glasses guy nodded emphatically, as if he'd completely lost interest in women. He yelled to the waiter, Waiter, 3 more beers, and another plate of lamb. Well, I guess I could try to analyze a bit more. Seeing the mood, Cole decided to just go with it. Fine, let's do this. Time for a real performance. Let's see if Jazz still thinks of me as a kid after this. Everyone nodded eagerly. Glasses guy diligently poured Cole a beer. Cole scanned the room and began to speak with the confidence of a seasoned pro. Production capacity expansion means capital expenditure. I'm sure you all know that. That means the machinery and equipment sector will likely. The iPhone 4 is already out. It won't be long before it hits the market here. The electronics sector might see. And as the national economy grows, so does household income. This income is a lagging indicator, meaning its consumption growth cycle follows just after the economic growth spurt. Sectors related to the public, like healthcare and food and beverage, could potentially. His words had everyone nodding, their eyes shining with contemplation. What could be more exciting than making money? After covering a few sectors that were likely to rise, Cole stopped. Going further would be revealing too much. The group was left wanting more, feeling like they had gained a massive insight. They were standing still, while Cole was speaking from a high point in time. Suddenly, Glasses guy asked another question. Dude, have you heard of Bitcoin? Bitcoin? Cole froze, a glint of sharp light flashing in his eyes. Holy crap, I completely forgot about that. For a moment, he was overcome with excitement, his expression shifting rapidly. But there were other people here. He couldn't talk about this. The stock market was one thing, but this was something he would never discuss publicly. Not really familiar with it. Glasses guy was slightly disappointed. He had a feeling this kid might know something. He'd heard about it from a classmate studying abroad, but hadn't dared to try it. While this lively discussion was happening, at a large round table against the far wall, a certain cool-headed girl was watching Cole with a resentful gaze. By sheer coincidence, she was at the same restaurant, having dinner with her father and some relatives from out of town. Her back had been to Cole initially, but as his voice grew louder, it sounded familiar, and she turned to look. It wasn't just her. Her father was watching too, and they had both heard every word. The analysis wasn't earth-shatteringly profound, but for it to come from a kid who couldn't be more than 20 was astonishing. Where did he get such deep insight? The middle-aged men at Serena's table exchanged looks of approval and amazement, murmuring to each other. When Cole's group finished their conversation and their meal, Serena's party paid their bill and left. At that moment, Cole was casually answering a few more questions from the group. Suddenly, a cold chill ran down his spine. His whole body tensed. A familiar, slender figure appeared in his line of sight. She walked past Jasmine's chair, her face a mask of indifference, her chin held high like a proud swan. She didn't spare him a single glance. Cole's heart sank. He looked over his shoulder to see Serena joining the group of middle-aged men and walking out of the restaurant. One of the men seemed to look back at him, his gaze meaningful. It's over. His grand plan to have her wrapped around his finger was probably ruined. Wait a minute. What was he afraid of? He and the school queen were a couple. She had no say in who he hung out with. With that thought, Cole instantly felt at ease. What is it? Do you know her? Jasmine's eyes narrowed. Huh. Cole felt a prickle of fear, but kept his composure. She's a classmate. She probably didn't see me. Oh, she's very pretty, Jasmine said flatly. After a bit more small talk, the dinner party broke up. The two guys, who had started the evening with cold hostility, were now practically begging Cole for advice. Their attitudes completely flipped. Neither of them were professional traders, just followers of trends. The predictions they'd heard tonight were enough to make them look like geniuses in their friend circles. On the way back, Cole, how do you know so much? Jasmine couldn't hold back her curiosity any longer, her eyes sparkling. I was just guessing. I like to read up on that stuff in my free time, Cole said with a grin. You did well, Jasmine said, a smile gracing her pretty face under the glow of the streetlights. Yeah, I know a lot more than that. Since I did so well, don't I get reward? Cole said, getting cocky. Jasmine didn't answer. As they walked into a dark stretch of road between streetlights, she suddenly spoke. Lower your head. Huh? Oh. Cole didn't quite process it, but he instinctively obeyed, ducking his head. A fragrant breeze washed over him, and he felt a pair of soft lips press a light kiss on his cheek before quickly pulling away. There's your reward. Cole was stunned, and then his baser instincts took over. It's rude not to return a gift. Let me give you one back, Jazz. He leaned in. Smack! A hand slapped him across the mouth. Ow! You hit me again. Cole clutched his mouth on the verge of tears. The pain was excruciating. You're never up to any good. Jasmine glared at him. Wah! Cole fake cried, trying to look pitiful. But Jasmine was too smart to be fooled. She saw right through him. Cole gave up and walked on obediently. A few steps later, an arm slipped into his. It was dark here, with no streetlights. You'll meet a lot of people in college, and face a lot of challenges. You need to keep a good mindset, you hear me? Jasmine's tone was bossy, but her words were laced with concern. I know, Jazz. In a few days, I'm going with my mom to my grandma's for a while, and then I'll head straight to school from there. So I won't see you for a long time. So you want me to be gone, is that it? Jasmine's temper flared, and she twisted the soft flesh at his waist. You know perfectly well I'm at Eastwood Tech, which is just a few steps away. Huh, a few steps? Oh, wow, that hurts. I meant that every day without you will feel like a year, Cole said, trying to sound deeply sincere. But Jasmine wasn't buying his performance. She twisted harder. Where did you learn such cheesy lines? Tell me. Ouch, for real, it hurts. It's the truth. My sincere feelings. I didn't learn it anywhere. Cole begged for mercy, but refused to admit he was just trying to be smooth. Oomph. Jasmine finally let him go, a strange light dancing in her eyes. Her voice suddenly turned gentle. Don't mess around at school. You hear me? A lot of girls are very calculating. You'll get hurt. If you meet someone you like, you have to bring her to me for approval first. Cole groaned internally. This whiplash of hard and soft was impossible to navigate. He couldn't tell what was genuine and what was a test. But he answered obediently. Okay, I know, Jazz. His eyes darted around. But what if some girls try to tempt me? I'm afraid I won't be able to resist. What are you trying to say? Jasmine stopped walking, her eyes full of suspicion. I just think you'll need to help me build up my resistance from time to time, Cole said, his face a picture of pure sincerity. Jasmine thought back to the time he groped her, but a blush crept up her cheeks as she studied his expression, but it was too dark to see clearly. She started walking again, pulling him along. After about 10 steps, she spoke softly. If you behave, I'll be on my best behavior, Cole promised, secretly celebrating. Jasmine sighed. Once he was at college, if she didn't look out for him, who would? She told herself she was just doing it to save her godmother the worry. She could make a small sacrifice now and then. She held his arm until they reached the entrance to their complex, then let go. They went their separate ways. Lying in bed after a shower, Cole couldn't sleep. It wasn't a woman on his mind, but Bitcoin. In 2010, Bitcoin was just starting out, its price incredibly low. But for now, the most important thing was to cash in on the final World Cup game. He needed capital. He couldn't put everything into Bitcoin. He had to set some aside for other investments. At 11 p.m., in the district apartments, Serena stared at Cole's profile on her computer, her expression conflicted. Should I ask him or not? And if I do, on what grounds? But if I don't, I feel this strange, inexplicable unhappiness. He had looked so handsome today, and he knew so much. She bit her lip, hesitating. He already played with my hand like that. It should be okay to just ask, right? She opened the chat window, typed, deleted, typed again, and deleted again. This went on for a long time. The next morning, after finishing breakfast, Cole opened his laptop. The first thing he saw was Serena's blinking icon. He clicked it. Cole, your girlfriend is really pretty. The message was sent at 12:30 a.m. Cole blinked, then typed back. That's my sister. I was just taking her to meet her friends. It wasn't a lie, he thought slyly. That's exactly what happened. Not 5 minutes later, Serena's icon blinked again. Oh, so that's your sister. She really is beautiful. Cole replied. Yeah, I was just having dinner with her. By the way, very pretty too. At the same time, in the district apartments, Serena, with faint dark circles under her eyes, smiled. The feeling was like walking out of a blizzard and into a warm house. At 18, her innocent heart only had room for happiness and unhappiness. She went to the mirror. Oh no, dark circles. She needed to put a warm compress on them, fast. She hurried to the bathroom. That day, Cole didn't go anywhere. All his thoughts were focused on the final lottery payout. On July 10th, he went to the farthest lottery office he could find. He bet on the July 11th match. Germany 3, Uruguay 2. Total goals 5. Odds 7. 5-1. He gritted his teeth and invested the entire $370,000. The lottery office owner gave him a strange look, but didn't say much. It was the biggest single bet his shop had ever taken. The card machine was silent, so the other customers had no idea such a huge wager had just been placed beside them. With a heart full of dread, Cole waited anxiously for the 10 p.m. game. He prayed over and over, please be right, please be right. Every second of the match was torture. Finally, a header from Germany's Khedira scored the third goal, bringing the score to 3-2. But there was still over a minute left. Cole was so tense he bit the inside of his cheek, his fist clenched. Uruguay, don't you dare. But just as the game was about to end, Germany committed a foul, giving Uruguay a free kick. Oh my God, it's over. A wave of pure terror washed over Cole. He only remembered the result, not the play-by-play. Had history changed? Cole held his breath. He watched, paralyzed, as Forlan took a direct shot. The ball sailed over the German defensive wall, heading straight for the goal. Cole's heart leaped in his throat. No, please no. My $370,000. But perhaps the course of history truly was immutable. The ball struck the crossbar and ricocheted into the stands. And with that, the game was over. Cole's eyes were wide, and he gasped for air, drenched in a cold sweat. Thank God. Thank freaking God. Thank you, Forlan. May you live a long and happy life. The blood rushed to his head, and his eyes felt hot. His heart was still hammering against his ribs. It took a long time for him to calm down. And then came the elation. He'd won. I'm never doing this again, he vowed. It's too damn stressful. He shut down the computer, wiped the sweat from his face with a dry towel, and collapsed onto the bed. The excitement had burned through his blood sugar, and the subsequent crash from the adrenaline rush left him weak. He fell into a deep sleep almost immediately. The next day, Cole was up at 7 a.m. He quickly ate breakfast, slung his backpack on, and headed to the Rockford City Lottery Center. The staff was stunned to see him again. After verifying the ticket, a buzz of discussion rippled through the office. This was a major prize. $2,775,000. And the person cashing it in was a young man who had won before. It was hard not to notice. Cole firmly declined an interview, sticking to his story that it was a group purchase by relatives and neighbors, and he was just the designated runner. The staff didn't believe him. Who would let a freshly minted adult collect such a large sum? But they couldn't force an interview. After the money was in his account, Cole went to the bank next door. He applied to exchange for $50,000 in foreign currency. The strict single transaction limits had been removed in 2007, but the annual cap for an individual was still $50,000, exceeding that required going through investment channels with a much more complicated review process. A manager came over, asked a few basic questions, and then let him fill out the application. The funds would take a few business days to clear. At the time, the exchange rate was about 6.77 yuan to the dollar at the bank, a standard practice. With that taken care of, Cole hurried home. He locked himself in his room, threw his backpack on the floor, and excitedly kissed his bank card over and over. A couple million yuan, nearly $410,000, was a serious amount of purchasing power back then. How about my startup capital? The World Cup betting saga was over. He couldn't remember the results of any other matches. 7 days later, the foreign currency finally appeared in his bank account. Cole sat ramrod straight at his desk and solemnly opened his computer. First, he had to carefully choose a Bitcoin exchange. At that time, there were no domestic exchanges in China. The world's first Bitcoin exchange had opened in early 2010, but shut down after just 3 months. Now, at the end of July, a new exchange had just been established. It was called MT, GOX, based in Japan. In its heyday, it handled 70% of the world's trading volume. It was a legitimate, licensed exchange. However, at the end of 2013, it was hit by a massive hack. A huge number of customer wallets were compromised, and in February 2014, it ceased all trading. The fallout was catastrophic, with countless people losing everything. Before that point, however, accounts were safe. And in April 2013, another exchange called Gate.io would be founded, one that would survive long into the future. So, Cole's plan was to either sell everything or transfer his Bitcoin to Gate.io before the end of 2013. That should keep his assets safe. In theory. But it was hard to predict what might happen in between. Many exchanges were fleeting, taking investors' money with them. With his strategy clear, Cole used a VPN to connect to the MT GOX website. A VPN was a legal way to access the foreign internet, as long as you weren't doing anything illegal. He quickly realized his English was not up to the task. Man, I really should have studied or asked the school queen for some tutoring. He dug an old dictionary out of a corner and started painstakingly translating anything he didn't recognize. He registered an account with the username, Angel's Wing. Then he set up his wallet and private keys. At this point, the price of Bitcoin was absurdly low. The lowest transaction price was 3 cents. In 2010, Bitcoin trading hadn't really taken off. The 10 million Bitcoins mined by early adopters were practically worthless, as common as weeds. Miners would list them on the exchange for next to nothing. The exchange itself was struggling to survive. With no trading, there were no fees. That's how the first one went under. It wasn't until late 2010 that a dozen mysterious accounts started buying up Bitcoin in huge quantities, driving the price up. Later analysis suggested it was the exchange's own founders using sock puppet accounts to create a market. Cole didn't care if it was 3 cents or who was selling. He bought everything. As he swept the order book, the price of newly listed coins began to rise. When people saw some fool collecting their digital garbage, of course they raised the price. It quickly went from 4 cents to 8 cents. Over 10 days of intense buying, Cole spent $30,000 to acquire 256,864 bitcoins. The price had risen to 15 cents, but it was still practically worthless, compared to its future value, at least. At that moment, no one in their right mind would spend 15 cents on a string of code. When Cole stopped buying, the exchange went quiet again. No one was buying. Only an idiot would. In the exchange's back office, founder Mark Karpelez's smile faded. Why did he stop? Keep buying. Every transaction generated fees, and it created market liquidity. Otherwise, he'd have to start manufacturing fake trades himself, which required real capital. Having a new, enthusiastic, or rather, moronic, buyer was the best thing that could have happened. Because no matter how much was bought, it all stayed in the exchange's wallet. Cole understood this perfectly. Even if he bought 500,000 coins, they were still under someone else's control, and he could be fleeced at any moment. Of course, the most he could lose was $30,000. In early 2011, he would start selling off portions to take some profit and lower his profile with the wolves. A man who had clawed his way up from sales to successfully running his own company understood the art of survival. He had to sell or transfer before the wolves made their move. But the wolves would wait for the right moment because in their eyes, his coins were already theirs. That window of time was Cole's only chance. After he was done, Cole wrote down the long string of keys, tucked it into a book, and specifically asked his mother to keep that book safe for him. He spent the rest of his time researching investment opportunities. The school queen sent him a message saying she was at her dad's place and would find a chance to take him to that movie when school started. Cole replied with a simple, okay. Time flew by, and soon it was August 2020. Time to go to college. His mom bought him a new phone, the latest Samsung smartphone. In his past life, she had given him a Nokia. When it was time to leave, Sharon hugged him tightly, unwilling to let go. She had wanted to take time off work to go with him, but Cole talked her out of it. She got terrible motion sickness. It took a lot of coaxing before she finally released him. As Cole watched her teary eyes from the bus to Rockford, he felt a deep wave of emotion. He kept looking back every few seconds, his own eyes welling up. He had no idea that as soon as his bus was out of sight, Sharon had triumphantly sat down at the mahjong table. On the high-speed train, Cole found his window seat. Just as he stowed his luggage, his seatmate arrived. She was a tall, slender girl with long, dark hair and a face mask. Her large, almond-shaped eyes were striking but filled with wariness. Seeing her struggle to lift her bag, Cole stood up and gave it a push onto the overhead rack. "Thank you," the girl whispered, her voice soft and gentle. "No problem." Traveling to school alone was like a vacation for Cole, who had spent years crisscrossing the country on business. Leo was coming a few days later, and his school was far away. Chloe and the school queen were coming together, apparently with a private driver. Watching the scenery blur past the window, Cole felt a wave of nostalgia at the thought of returning to college as a student. The girl beside him leaned against her seat, drifting off to sleep. She was dressed plainly, almost dowdily, like a middle schooler from a rural town a decade ago. She was tall, probably between 5 feet 6 inches and 5 feet 7 inches, and the skin of her exposed forearms was exceptionally pale, almost bloodless. Cole glanced at her curiously for a moment, then looked away. The girl was extremely cautious, keeping a significant distance from him, practically hugging the aisle. Just as Cole was about to doze off himself, the girl started shifting uncomfortably. She pressed a hand to her chest, her breathing becoming shallow and rapid. Cole recognized the signs immediately: motion sickness, and, given how thin she was, probably low blood sugar too. "You should sit by the window. You can lean against it," Cole said, standing up without waiting for a reply and gesturing for her to switch. The girl glanced over. She must have been feeling awful, because after a moment's hesitation, she moved. She mumbled a quiet, "Thank you," and slumped weakly against the window. Sometime later, Cole was woken by a series of choked, suppressed gags. The girl had her hand clamped over her mouth, her brows tightly furrowed, the other hand pressed against her throat. Her once vivid eyes were now unfocused. Cole quickly stood up, grabbed his backpack from the rack, and emptied the tangerines from a plastic bag into it. He handed the empty bag to her. "If you need to throw up, just do it. Holding it in will only make it worse." The girl didn't hesitate. She took the bag, pulled down her mask, and dry heaved into it. She had clearly reached her limit. Her body shuddered with each retch, but nothing came up besides sour bile. Cole felt bad just watching her. When she was done, he handed her a tissue. As she wiped her mouth, he took the bag from her, tied it in a knot, and temporarily placed it under the seat. Afterward, the girl seemed to feel a bit better. She turned to Cole and whispered, "Thank you." "It's nothing." This time, Cole got a clear look at her face. A natural, heart-shaped face with delicate features that were still distinctive. Her aura was one of gentle resilience. Her large eyes were now red-rimmed from the violent retching, and her face was pale. "Don't worry about it." Cole pulled a few small snack cakes and a bottle of water from his bag and offered them to her. "Eat something. You'll feel better." He could tell she probably hadn't eaten before getting on the train. "Thank you, but I'll eat when I get off the train," the girl said, pushing them away. Her voice was small, almost childlike. "They're not poisoned. They're still sealed. Go on, eat. We've still got a long way to go, and I brought too much anyway," Cole said, opening one for himself to prove his point. "Really, I'm fine. Thank you." The girl shook her head again, though Cole saw her swallow. She was certainly cautious, which was probably a good thing for a girl traveling alone. He didn't press her further. After finishing 2 snack cakes, he closed his eyes and went back to sleep. Meanwhile, Luna secretly glanced at the boy beside her. He didn't seem like a bad person, but she didn't dare trust him. Her high school teacher had warned them, "Don't trust anyone on the road." The hunger in her stomach had turned into a burning, bloating pain, accompanied by waves of nausea. Her head was spinning. She looked at the snack cake on the windowsill, swallowed hard, and finally tore her gaze away. But soon, the feeling of her vision going dark, of her chest tightening, of nausea rising in her throat, came rushing back. Her head started to throb. She felt like she was about to pass out, but she fought to stay conscious. What if a bad person carried her off and sold her? Luna was back where she started, hand over her mouth, pressing on her throat, the color draining from her face. Just then, a new plastic bag silently appeared in front of her. She didn't have time to think, just grabbed it, and threw up more bile. When she was done, a tissue was handed to her, and the bag was taken away. Luna automatically took the tissue and wiped her mouth. A hand reached over, twisted open a bottle of water, and a calm voice said, "Rinse." The acid in her mouth was unbearable. Luna took the bottle, took a sip, and swished. Just as she was about to swallow, not knowing where else to spit, the open plastic bag appeared again. Spit. She had no choice. She spit out the water and instantly felt much better. She meant to say thank you, but a wave of dizziness and weakness washed over her. The hunger in her stomach intensified, every cell in her body screaming for sustenance. Luna closed her eyes weakly. She heard the sound of a package being torn open, followed by a soft thump. Then a straw touched her lips. "Drink!" Her subconscious screamed at her to refuse, but the physical misery, combined with some undefinable emotion, made her open her mouth and accept the straw. A sweet, milky flavor filled her mouth, flowing down her throat and nourishing her screaming cells. After a few sips, the straw was removed and something soft and fragrant pressed against her lips. The rich scent of a pastry. "Eat." With her eyes still closed, Luna instinctively clamped her jaw shut, knowing this was wrong. But the pastry pressed insistently against her lips until she had no choice but to take a bite. The arrival of carbohydrates sent her cells into a frenzy of celebration. They took control, forcing her to chew, to swallow. Just as she felt she might choke, the straw was back in her mouth. In this way, a bite of pastry, a sip of milk, Luna gradually recovered. Her stomach settled, the nausea subsided, though her head was still a little fuzzy. She opened her eyes to see the boy beside her, holding a pastry in one hand and a milk box in the other, leaning over to feed her. The boy's voice was flat. "You hold it. Anything I give you is safe to eat. If we run into each other at school, you could buy me lunch to pay me back." He then pressed the items into her hands without waiting for an answer. "My arm's getting tired." Luna looked blankly at the food in her hands, then back at the strange boy. He was now calmly peeling a tangerine. The memory of being fed while she was at her most vulnerable washed over her, an indescribable feeling flooding her heart. No one had ever taken care of her like this, but he was a stranger, and she had to be on her guard. And yet, he had seen her at her weakest, had fed her. Warmth, shame, embarrassment, pride, a whirlwind of emotions mixed together, forming a torrent that unexpectedly broke through the wall she had so carefully built around her heart. All the hardships she had ever faced came rushing back. Luna's lip trembled. She quickly turned her head, pressing her forehead against the cool glass of the window, hiding her vulnerability. The bitterness in her heart swirled with this strange new warmth, and stubborn tears welled up in her eyes. Cole finished peeling the tangerine, took half for himself, and placed the other half on the peel beside him. He could see that the girl was crying. Tough situation, he thought. A young girl traveling to college all alone, no family to see her off. On top of being sick, it's normal to cry. From the way she was dressed, she probably hadn't traveled much. It was good to help her out. Otherwise, she might be targeted by predators. During this time, unlucky girls sometimes encountered real monsters. In that moment, he wasn't the lecherous Cole or the 18-year-old Cole. He was the 32-year-old Cole. After a short nap, the outlines of an unfamiliar city appeared outside the window. The train's announcer began to speak. We are now arriving at Jiangxing Station. Please prepare. Perhaps seeing that Cole was awake, a soft voice came from beside him. Thank you. My name is Luna. I'm Cole. And remember, he said, rubbing his eyes and yawning, if we run into each other at school, you owe me lunch. It was just a polite way to make her feel less indebted. Okay, Luna agreed immediately, then added shyly, I don't have much money. Can I treat you after I find a part-time job? Sure. By the way, which school are you going to? If it's far, we might not run into each other. Cole turned to look at her. She looked much better, the light back in her eyes. Eastwood University. The accounting program, she said after a moment's hesitation. Oh, I'm at EU too, Cole replied coolly. Accounting and finance were both in the College of Business. They chatted casually for a few more minutes. Cole learned that Luna was from a small town in rural West Virginia. Soon, the train pulled into the station. Cole took down his suitcase, then grabbed the girl's large duffel bag and placed it on top of his suitcase before waiting in the aisle to disembark. Thank you, I can get it, Luna said, reaching for the bag. Don't. It's too crowded. How are you going to navigate with this thing? Just follow me. Cole pushed her hand away. Her skin was cool to the touch. Luna looked timidly at the broad back in front of her, unsure what to say. She decided to just let him lead. The line of people grew, and a girl behind them with a large backpack accidentally bumped into Luna. Her slender frame stumbled forward, pressing her against Cole's back. The gap behind her was immediately filled, leaving her no choice but to stay pressed against him. Cole was contemplating the duffel bag when he suddenly felt two soft, elastic mounds on his back. This feeling, it's strange. It's almost like, but that was impossible. The person behind him was Luna, who was impossibly thin. It's probably her hands, he reasoned. It's normal for a girl to use her hands to create distance. Meanwhile, Luna's eyes were wide with panic, a blush creeping up her pale face. She was both embarrassed and mortified. Before leaving, she had bound her chest tightly, just as her female teacher had advised to avoid trouble on the road. The jostling must have loosened the bindings. About 10 minutes later, they squeezed off the train together. Cole pushed the suitcase with one hand and carried the duffel bag with the other. It wasn't heavy, probably just clothes and bedding. I can take that, Luna said, her face still slightly flushed. You push this. Cole handed her the suitcase, then slung the duffel bag over his shoulder. Without waiting for her to agree, he started walking. Luna had no choice but to follow, pushing the suitcase, her eyes fixed on the back in front of her. Cole knew the Jiangxing train station like the back of his hand. He led Luna through a series of twists and turns directly to the taxi stand. Since they were going to the same school, he might as well take her with him. The university had shuttle buses, but they were outside the station, a long walk away. This was safer. Luna felt a knot of anxiety in her stomach. How had she just blindly followed him like this? I hope I don't get sold. They waited in line for over 20 minutes before getting a cab. It wasn't until she saw the grand gates of the university that Luna finally relaxed. Inside the campus gates, it was a sea of people. Banners for the College of Business and Accounting were set up along the road. First, find someone to take you to your dorm to get your key and drop off your stuff. Then go register, Cole instructed, pointing toward the welcome tent. Okay, Luna had no experience with this, but followed his advice. After handing her off to the orientation volunteers, Cole waved goodbye and went to find his own dorm. Watching his figure disappear into the crowd, Luna felt a sense of loss. Without him, her feeling of security plummeted, even though she was now safely on campus. She held the duffel bag herself. The student guide helping her was short, and she didn't want to burden him. After walking for a bit, a thought struck her. Oh no, I forgot to get his number. Meanwhile, Cole, following a small map, found his dorm without much trouble. He registered, got his key, and went up to room 305. It was a 4-person suite, and 3 guys were already there. This is way better than the 6-person room from my past life, he thought, introducing himself. Through their conversation, they got to know each other. Javier, from Florida, had a distinct accent and tan skin like Cole's. His first words were, just call me Javi. Frank from Maine was short and stocky like a potato. Preston from New York City was fair-skinned and casually mentioned that his family owned a hotel. Cole was the tallest in the room, and also the most handsome. Preston, feeling his thunder had been stolen, asked, "What about you, little bro?" Cole, from Linden Creek. "I like to dabble in investments in my free time. You guys can call me Mr. Chun," Cole said with a cheerful laugh. Javi and Frank burst out laughing. One said, "Damn, Boss Cole, bold," while the other cupped his hands in a mock bow. "Mr. Chun, you're the man." "You're better at bluffing than I am," Preston said. "So, Mr. Chun, what projects have you invested in?" "I like to dabble, but I haven't actually dabbled yet," Cole said with a grin. "Knew it," Preston laughed, his mood improving. The men's dorm building looked old on the outside, but was clean inside. Upperclassmen had probably cleaned it before freshmen move in. The beds were lofts with desks underneath, a pretty nice setup for 2010. While making their beds, they started talking about their love lives. Javi said, "I have a crush on this girl, but she went to college in a different city." "No chance then. What's the point of crush? My girl can't live without me," Frank declared with a dismissive air. Javi and Preston were intrigued. Seeing he had their attention, Frank adopted a demure, happy smile. "She won't eat breakfast unless I bring it to her. She can't sleep unless I send her a goodnight text. And she even has to report to me before she takes a shower." "Whoa, impressive. Dude, that's awesome." Cole gave him a thumbs up of admiration. As long as no one calls him out, being a simp can be its own kind of happiness. When it was Preston's turn, he smiled profoundly and held up 2 fingers. "I've dated 2. Both of them chased me, relentlessly. It was honestly a pain. But I'm a studious guy, so I broke up with them to focus on getting into college." Javi and Frank looked at him with a mixture of awe and envy. "What about you, Cole?" Preston asked. "Me?" Cole shook his head. "Never had a girlfriend. I was too busy thinking about investments." The 3 of them wore expressions of feigned pity that barely concealed their smug satisfaction. Javi was relieved. At least he'd had a crush. Preston felt he had won this round. 2 girls chasing him? Who could compete with that? He feigned sympathy and started giving advice. "You can't be like that, man. You're wasting your youth. You have to be proactive with girls, you know. Girls aren't just going to show up at your door. You have to make a move, chat them up, take them out to eat. And especially during that time of the month, you have to be extra attentive. For example," Preston continued, "I met a junior earlier, really long legs. I made my move immediately and successfully got her number." "How'd you get it? Did you just ask?" Javi sat up on his bed, curious. "What else?" Preston shrugged with an air of nonchalant confidence. Frank and Javi felt like they'd learned a valuable lesson. Cole nodded along. At least he'd gotten the number. Just then, his phone buzzed with a Facebook message. He dug out his bag. "Whoa, a Samsung smartphone," Frank said with envy. He was still using an old Nokia. Preston pulled out his own large-screen HTC from his back pocket and waved it around. "I'm not used to Samsung. I prefer HTC." Cole opened his messenger. It was a message from Serena. "Cole, are you at school yet?" "Just got to my dorm. Going to register in a bit," Cole replied. She responded instantly. "I just got here too. Already made my bed. Can you go shopping with me this afternoon? I don't know this area, and I'm a little scared." "Okay, you name the time." After a moment's thought, Cole agreed. If he refused again, it would be a major blow to the school queen's pride. Chloe's communication school was on a different campus, quite a ways away. He was the only person Serena knew here, and the finance department wasn't far from the law school, maybe a 15-minute walk. Serena replied, "Is 5 o'clock okay? Works for me." Another message popped up. It was from Jasmine. "What building and room number? Have you registered yet? I'm coming to see you. Building 202, room 305. Haven't registered yet. Still making my bed. I'll go in a bit." Cole replied honestly. He had to accept Jazz's kindness. Refusing meant getting beaten up. Eastwood Tech was right next door, so it wasn't a long trip for her. "I propose we go for a walk," Preston announced. Agreed. Time to put theory into practice, Javi and Frank said, eager to get going. "I'm going to pass for now. I've got someone coming to see me," Cole said with an apologetic smile. "Lame. Who's going to come see you now? Don't regret it when we meet a bunch of cute girls and don't introduce you," Preston grumbled, slightly annoyed. "Seriously, someone's coming." Cole really did want to go check out the scenery, all those pale, slender legs, but he couldn't. "A girl?" Javi asked. "Yeah, a girl," Cole nodded. "He's faking. See? He's totally faking." Preston pointed at Cole, looking at Javi and Frank for confirmation. They thought so too. A girl was coming to see him? Cole was just trying to save face. It was probably some rough-looking dude. They wouldn't be there to see it anyway. "Don't believe me then." Cole sighed. Why did no one believe him when he told the truth? "So when is she coming?" "We'll wait here. If it's not a girl, you're buying us dinner." If it is, I'll pay, Preston declared. He was convinced he would win this bet. Yeah, we want to see, Frank snickered. Either way, they were getting a free meal. Just as Javi was about to join in, a commotion erupted in the hallway outside. A chorus of woes and excited shouts from the guys. Curious, they were about to go see what was happening when a tall, stunning figure appeared in their doorway. Cole froze. That was fast. She must have been downstairs when she sent the message. He waved. Over here. Preston, Javi, and Frank were speechless. A girl actually came looking for him. And she wasn't just a girl, she was a goddess. Today, Jasmine was wearing a white, off-the-shoulder t-shirt and a classic black pleated skirt. It fell a few inches above her knees, revealing a sliver of pale, flawless thigh. She had on light makeup, long lashes, and glossy red lips that made her already captivating face even more dazzling. With her confident and composed demeanor, she was the epitome of a sophisticated older woman. The three roommates sat up straighter, their movements suddenly stiff and awkward. They looked at the goddess, then back at Cole. Jasmine scanned the room, then put on a standard, perfect smile. She walked in carrying a bag of fruit and offered it around. Help yourselves. Please look out for Cole from now on. Cole felt a surge of embarrassment, like he was a little kid being fawned over. But beneath the embarrassment was a deep sense of gratitude. Jazz was too good to him. Of course, we're roommates, Preston said, flattered, as he took a token tangerine. Don't worry, we're brothers for life now. We'll take care of him. Frank puffed out his chest. Thanks, Javi mumbled, a bit starstruck. Jasmine placed the remaining fruit on Cole's desk, then glanced at his bed and shot him a look. Can't you see how wrinkled this sheet is? She immediately started smoothing the corners. At her direction, Cole climbed onto the bed to pull the inner side taut. Once that was done, Jasmine clapped her hands in satisfaction. Let's go. I'll take you to get your student ID and set up your campus card. Okay. Cole couldn't refuse her kindness and obediently followed. The faint, sweet scent coming from her made his mind wander. If it weren't for the three other people in the room, he would have loved to practice building his resistance right then and there. Under the envious and jealous gazes of his roommates, Cole and Jasmine left the room. The three of them, unwilling to let it go, rushed out onto the balcony and leaned over the railing to watch. They saw Cole and the girl walking toward the registration office. After a few steps, right there in front of everyone, the girl actually linked her arm through Cole's. Preston, Javi, and Frank groaned. They had just become brothers in the same dorm, and one of them was already showing off his girlfriend. It was unforgivable. Maybe they're siblings? Preston had a sudden thought. They do kind of look like it. Javi agreed. We'll just ask him when he gets back, Frank said, his eyes gleaming. But whether they're siblings or not, gentlemen, as Cole's new roommates of 1 hour, our bond forged in steel, it is only reasonable that we get to know the goddess's roommates, right? The three of them exchanged a look, sly grins spreading across their faces. Meanwhile, Cole was miserable. Jazz, you're ruining my chances with all the other girls. In theory, walking with a beautiful, fragrant woman should have been a dream. But this was a college campus, with so many eyes on them. Cole could practically feel the labels being slapped on him. This one's taken, but he didn't dare resist. He had to look blissful, lest he anger or hurt Jasmine. It was just a shame. All those beautiful, flower-like girls would have to suffer without his attention. Under the shade of a nearby tree, a group of girls stood watching. That guy is cute. Too bad he's taken. Not necessarily. Look at his expression. I think they're siblings. What? Look at the way she's holding his arm. Only an older sister holds on like she's clinging to a vine. A real couple would be holding hands, and his hands are perfectly behaved. True. Well, Cora, looks like you might have a chance. Isn't that your type? Not even close. If he wants to chase me, looks aren't enough. He needs to have substance. When he shows me he's got some real power, then maybe I'll give him a chance, said the girl named Cora. She had wavy hair and delicate features, and she stood with her arms crossed, a haughty look on her face. After finishing with all the administrative tasks, Cole walked around campus with Jasmine, listening to her instructions. You have to take your major classes seriously. No skipping, you hear me? If I find out, I'll beat you up. I hear you. And stay away from those flashy girls who carry fake designer bags. That's the most important thing, you understand? I understand. But how am I supposed to know if a bag is fake? Just assume they're all fake. Oh, if you're short on money, you tell me. Got it. Jasmine didn't stay long, saying she had rehearsal for a dance club. They chatted as Cole walked her to the EU gate, where she hailed a cab and left. Cole checked the time. It was already 4:30 p.m. Remembering his 5 o'clock appointment, he started walking toward the law school. He strolled slowly, timing it just right. As he approached the law school's women's dorms, he saw groups of guys standing around under the trees. Judging by their wolf-like, predatory energy, they weren't freshmen. Cole sent a message to the school queen. "I'm here." She replied instantly. "I see you. Shy emoji, I'm coming down now." A minute later, the girl who had the campus buzzing ran out of the stairwell. She was wearing a sleeveless, light blue collegiate-style dress, the hemline stopping a good 3 inches above her knees. Her high ponytail bounced with each step, and her delicate, fair face was alight with joy. The reserved, distant look she used to wear was completely gone. "Hey, freshman, can I get your number?" A guy who'd been squatting nearby jumped up, blocking Serena's path with a burning intensity in his eyes. "Ignore him. Add me instead." Another guy, a step too slow, said, not wanting to be outdone. "What gives you the right? Come on, just give me your digits." The other guys who hadn't stood up watched with jealous, resentful grins, kicking themselves for not having the guts to make a move. The sudden crowd startled Serena. She waved her hands dismissively. "No, thank you." "No." She tried to step around them, but the first guy shifted to block her again. "Come on, just one ad. We're all students here. We should get to know each other. If you ever need help with anything, just ask." Blocked again. Serena's expression turned cold. She hated feeling cornered like this. Just as her anger was about to boil over, a voice boomed from ahead. "Hey, go bother someone else." The shout was loud enough to draw all their attention. Cole was striding toward them. "Says who? You're a boyfriend?" The guy blocking Serena sneered, looking Cole up and down. "Whether she adds me or not is her business. What gives you the right to butt in?" "Yeah, man. It's her choice, not yours. She's got the freedom to choose. Give it up, kid. I used to pull the same moves back in the day." A few of the guys chimed in, while the others stayed crouched, enjoying the show. "Sorry to disappoint you," Cole said, tilting his head back and looking down his nose at the pack of upperclassmen. "But I actually am her boyfriend." He took a few steps forward, closing the distance until they were nearly face-to-face. This was one of the unwritten rituals of freshman move-in week. A handful of campus veterans would stake out the girls' dorms, betting on who had the courage to approach a freshman and who could actually score a number. If the girl had a boyfriend, things could get ugly. It was a major loss of face, a quick way to start a fight. Cole was already tall, and 2 months of consistent workouts had given him a solid frame. Combined with the commanding presence he'd developed managing dozens of sales reps, his advance carried a heavy, oppressive weight. The guys' eyes flickered, their bravado weakening, but their faces were still defiant. This girl was a goddess, and they'd worked up all their courage just to talk to her. If one of them actually succeeded, it would be a story they'd tell for the rest of their lives. Talk is cheap. Prove it. Yeah, prove it. She hasn't even looked at you. Kid, that line is so old, it's got dust on it. Serena bit her lip, her bright eyes reflecting Cole's face. The word boyfriend thundered in her mind. "You want proof?" "Fine." Cole bluffed, his own heart pounding. "Come on, Serena. Please, don't leave me hanging here." He steeled himself and held out his hand. "Let's go. Kept me waiting long enough. I'm gonna have to get you back for that." Every guy turned to look at Serena. She was a freshman. It was unlikely she already had a boyfriend, especially one at the same university. And if he was her boyfriend, shouldn't they have been together from the start? Time seemed to freeze. A faint blush crept across Serena's cheeks. Her beautiful eyes shimmered, and her world narrowed until all she could see was that outstretched hand. A hot flush rushed to her head. Biting her lower lip, under the despairing gaze of the circle of guys, she placed her small hand into his large one. In that instant, time crawled by in microseconds, and then the clearing erupted in a collective groan of defeat. "Damn it. Shot down again. Why do all the good ones go for the jerks? I'm charming and handsome. Why don't I have a girlfriend? If that's what it takes, I'd be a jerk too. Let's just go, man. This is depressing." Though they claimed a boyfriend had no say, seeing the girl willingly take his hand was a different story. It was a clear signal. There was no opening here, at least not for now. The commotion had drawn the attention of girls on the balconies of the dorm building. A few from Serena's floor started whispering. "So, she does have a boyfriend. She told us she didn't. Good. Less competition. Her boyfriend's kinda hot. He looks more mature than the other guys. I like that type. Well, just wait. They probably won't last long." Serena heard none of it. Her eyes were fixed on their joined hands, the sensation overwhelming her. It was the same hand that had helped her before, but this time was different. Bolstered by that one word, boyfriend, it sent a strange, powerful shock through her. Mom would kill me if she knew about this, but she won't find out. And we're just holding hands. That doesn't really count, right? Cole was internally gloating. "Serena, you're the best." He glanced back at the guys, who were still staring, their eyes full of a resentment that was threatening to drive them insane. Cole grinned, then pulled his hand free and gave her a quick, playful swat on the butt. He shot the gawking guys one last look over his shoulder, a conqueror's smirk on his face, then turned and led a suddenly rigid Serena away. Her face was scarlet all the way to her ears, like a ripe apple. He actually patted my butt. I could die of embarrassment. Even my dad has never done that. That jerk. How could he? If Mom found out, I'd be in so much trouble. Her heart hammered against her ribs. She was a little angry, but also not angry, maybe even a little thrilled. She couldn't make sense of her feelings. She was probably losing her mind again. Her gaze flickered from Cole's profile to their hands. This isn't dating, right? No, definitely not. I've heard that when you're dating, you kiss. What are you thinking about? Cole asked, glancing at her. In nothing, Serena stammered, her eyes fluttering. Stay away from guys like that from now on. Don't give your number to anyone. You hear me? Okay, I know. It's after 5. Let's get something to eat, then we can go shopping. Okay. As they walked, Serena felt him gently squeezing her fingertips again. It felt so nice. They skipped the dining hall and headed for the strip of food trucks and stalls just outside the main campus gate. The area was bustling, a chaotic symphony of smells and sounds. They tried some spicy calamari, but the heat was nothing to 2 people from Linden Creek. It was also way too greasy. They both disliked it. Finally, they found a place selling ramen. After finishing their bowls, they continued to wander, buying small bites of anything that looked interesting. Serena's steps were light, and she occasionally skipped, a constant smile on her face. She felt incredibly relaxed. It was the first time in her life she'd ever just wandered through an unfamiliar city like this. And even though he kept squeezing her fingers, having him by her side made her feel incredibly safe. Here for you, Serena said, holding up a warm, crispy Chewo bite toward Cole's mouth. Cole's eyes went from the golden brown pastry to her slender, pale fingers. A mischievous impulse struck him, and with a grin, he leaned down and opened his mouth wide. You bit my finger, Serena yelped, snatching her hand back like a startled deer, her cheeks flushing crimson. The sound was a whirlwind of surprise and playful accusation. Cole's heart gave a lurch. Whoa, did she just squeal? What happened to the Ice Queen? Good thing my self-control is rock solid, or I would have lost it right there. Serena was already a head-turner, but her shy, flustered reaction made everyone around them stop and stare. Their gazes were filled with a potent mix of envy, jealousy, and pure hatred for the lucky bastard by her side. Serena, however, was oblivious to the onlookers, her mind completely consumed by the feeling of her finger in that jerk's mouth. It was an accident. It won't happen next time you feed me, Cole said with a look of pure innocence, quickly changing the subject. These are good, though. Really good. Really? Let me try. Serena popped one in her mouth. It's a little sweet, but really fragrant. Noticing some cinnamon sugar on her fingers, she put them in her mouth to lick it off. After a second, she froze. Oh no, he just had those 2 fingers in his mouth. Doesn't that basically mean we kissed? Her face instantly turned beet red. She stole a glance at Cole, relieved he hadn't seemed to notice. Spurred on by an impulse she didn't understand, she picked up another Chewo bite and held it out to him. Have another. Of course, this time, a certain someone accidentally got her fingers in his mouth again. They went back and forth, you have one, until the bag was empty. Serena's fingers were nearly raw, but Cole was enjoying himself immensely. It was 9 o'clock by the time he walked her back to her dorm. She waved goodbye, her eyes full of a reluctance to part, and practically skipped into the building. The moment Serena turned away, Cole spun on his heel and left. Rule number 1 of dating: never watch her walk away, and never wait for her to appear on a balcony. The campus was even more alive at 9 p.m. than during the day. Girls in summer clothes walked in pairs and trios. Guys they passed put on ascetic airs, but their eyes darted around, expertly measuring the length of bare legs and mentally categorizing everything they saw. Up ahead, a girl sitting on the grass with her head buried in her knees caught Cole's eye. She was all alone. To be so lonely right at the start of school, she must have a story. As he walked past, he could hear faint sobs. He hadn't planned on paying any attention, but then he stopped. Her clothes seemed familiar. A closer look revealed a slightly too large red crew-neck t-shirt, black pants, and a pair of worn-out white running shoes. Is that Luna? What was wrong? Cole walked over. A closer inspection confirmed it. It was definitely Luna. He recognized the white jade bracelet on her wrist. Luna, is that you? Cole asked, just to be sure. The girl buried in her arms wiped her face on her sleeve and looked up. A few strands of hair were stuck to her tear-streaked cheeks. Who's there? The streetlight was behind him, making it hard for her to see his face. "It's me, Cole." "Oh, sorry, I couldn't see," Luna said, hastily wiping at her tears as her eyes adjusted to the light. What happened? Cole knew this girl was all alone in a strange city and was probably scared. Of course, if she was crying over boy trouble, that was out of his hands. It's nothing." Luna shook her head slightly, but the helplessness on her face was impossible to hide. "Fight with your boyfriend?" Cole asked deliberately. No. I don't have a boy. Friend. Luna shook her head so vigorously it looked like it might fly off. She trailed off, her expression utterly miserable. "If it's not that, then tell me what's wrong," Cole said, sitting down next to her, his tone serious. They'd shared a train ride. If someone was bullying her, he had to help. A gentle girl, like her, was an easy target. I, Luna stammered, unable to get the words out. Fresh tears started to fall. "Just spit it out. Come on," Cole said, a bit of frustration creeping into his voice. He kept his voice low, but his tone was stern. Luna flinched. Her lip trembled, and she burst into tears. I lost my spending money." Wah. Cole finally understood. She'd lost her money. No wonder she was crying. It was clear Luna didn't come from a wealthy family. Losing her spending money would be devastating, and even if she applied for student aid, it wouldn't come through right away. "How much did you lose?" Luna choked out the words between sobs, like a child who'd just been scolded. $200. $200? Her entire budget was only $200? Cole was stunned. In 2010, the most basic living expenses for a college student were at least $600 a month. You can maybe scrape by on $500 if you ate cheaply. But $200? How can anyone survive on that? He could just imagine it. A girl from a poor family, arriving in a strange new environment with her tuition money and a meager $200 for living expenses. And then she loses it, leaving her penniless and alone. An idea sparked in Cole's mind. He pulled a wad of cash from his pocket. He'd withdrawn $1,500 earlier that evening and spent just over $100. He held out the remaining $300. "Is that all? Here, take this. Consider it a loan." Luna stared at the money but didn't take it. Part of it was pride, part was fear. She'd been taught her whole life that there was no such thing as a free lunch, and she would never accept a handout. The person in front of her was the only one she knew here, and her heart was tempted, but borrowing money from someone still felt wrong. Cole knew exactly what she was thinking. "All right, let me rephrase. It's not a loan. It's an advance on your first month's salary." "Salary?" Luna blinked, her tear-blurred eyes full of confusion. "After freshman orientation, I'm going to open a shop off campus. Maybe a boba tea place, maybe a fried chicken joint. When you don't have class, and in the evenings, you can come work for me. I'll pay you." He'd been planning this for a while, and had even scouted the food truck area earlier that night. Getting a storefront there would be tough, unless he got lucky and found a place that had to close unexpectedly. Boba tea and specialty fried chicken shops were about to blow up, sucking up a huge chunk of young people's disposable income. Especially the tea. People would happily shell out for an aesthetic cup of tea, convincing themselves they were savoring the moment, all while getting ripped off. Well, if someone's going to be doing the ripping off, it might as well be me, he thought. But I don't know how," Luna stammered, still sniffling as she looked up at him pitifully. "You'll learn. I'll teach you," Cole said, giving her a pointed look. "What? You're too good to work for me, just because it's a small shop?" "No, that's not it." Luna's eyes were glassy with tears, and she wiped them with the back of her hand. "Then it's settled. Deal." Cole took her hand, opened her palm, and pressed the cash into it. "This is for now. If you do a good job, you'll get a raise." Someone like Luna was the perfect employee, hard-working and reliable. Plus, she was an accounting major. Perfect. He had to have someone he could trust with the finances. He learned that from his uncle Leo, who refused to let his bookkeeper go for any reason. He thought for a moment and added, "Study hard in your accounting classes. You hear me? I'm going to need you." Luna was speechless. "And another thing, field training starts soon. You have to eat well. Use this money, spend what you need to, and make sure you're in good shape. I need my employees to be healthy." "Got it. G got it," Luna whispered, more tears welling up. "What's your number?" "And your Facebook?" Cole pulled out his phone, ready to save her contact. "My Facebook is Luna. 1314. I don't have a phone." Cole fell silent. No phone. This girl was truly brave, venturing out into the world all on her own. "No phone is fine. You'll have one soon enough. This money is for food. I'll figure something out for the phone. After all, you're going to be working for me. You hear me? I hear you," Luna said, wiping her red, swollen eyes, her small face streaked with tears. "Okay, that's enough talk. If there's an emergency, you can find me in the business school, building 202, room 305. And remember what I said, 3 good meals a day. If I see you looking run down during training, I'm going to be pissed. With that, Cole stood up and walked away, giving the girl some space to compose herself and salvage her pride. Luna watched his silhouette fade into the night, clutching the money tightly in her hand. When she'd realized the cash was gone, she had felt utter despair. Asking to borrow money was out of the question. She could never bring herself to do it, and who would lend it to her anyway? She had already decided to walk to North Lake on the edge of campus to preserve what was left of her dignity. Now, in Luna's tear-stained eyes, courage and resolve began to reform, coalescing into the shape of the person who had just walked away. Half an hour later, Luna returned to her dorm room, carrying a bag of toiletries and other necessities. 5 other girls were there. A small, bespectacled girl was reading on her bed, while the other 4 were deep in conversation. When they saw Luna, the girl with the glasses, Felicity, asked with concern, "What happened to you? Have you been crying?" The chatter stopped as all eyes turned to Luna. "What's wrong? Did you get your heart broken?" A cheerful, heavy-set girl named Brianna teased. "No, I just got some sand in my eye," Luna mumbled, embarrassed. The girls exchanged glances. Felicity's eyes held a flicker of worry. "Are you sure you're okay? You left this afternoon and just got back." "I'm really fine. Thanks for asking." After the kindness from Cole, Luna felt another wave of warmth. Brianna slapped her chest dramatically. "If anything's wrong, you tell your big sis, Brie. You hear? I've got you back here." After a few days of living together, the girls in the dorm had a pretty good sense of Luna's situation. She was an open book. When they'd asked about her family, she told them everything. She was from the mountains of rural West Virginia. Her father died when she was 8, and her mother remarried a year later. Her grandparents passed away when she was a freshman in high school, and she'd spent the last 3 years living with her uncle, enduring his family's cold shoulders. She even had to sign I.O.U.S. with her relatives for her tuition money. For someone from her background to get into Eastwood University was incredible. She was also stunningly beautiful. If she found a kind soul to help her, she had a good chance of having a much better life. The girl's sympathy was mixed with a shrewd desire to befriend someone who might one day be very successful. Brianna's street-smart declaration of loyalty made Luna crack a small smile. "Okay, come on, let's go take a shower. Anyone else coming?" Brianna started gathering her things. "I'll go. There's probably space now." "Me too." All 6 of them headed to the communal bathroom. It was empty, as they'd hoped. As they undressed, Luna was a bit shy and tried to hide her body. Brianna noticed. "Why are you still wearing a compression wrap?" "Let me see." The next second, she shrieked, "Oh my God, is this why you're so skinny? All your weight went straight to your chest." "What is it? What's she talking about?" The other girls crowded around. "Holy, good Lord, I'm so jealous. It's not fair. How did you grow like that? Are they real? Let me touch." Mortified, Luna dodged and weaved, refusing to let anyone get close. "I don't know what lucky bastard is going to get you someday." Brianna marveled, finally giving up. "I'm crying. My self-esteem is crushed." Felicity looked down at her own chest and felt a wave of existential despair. Brianna's eyes narrowed again. "You better keep those wrapped up tight. With field training coming up, bouncing around all day is going to be torture." Thinking about it that way, the other girls actually felt a lot better. At least they wouldn't have to worry about that during training, unlike some people who would be carrying a heavy burden. The next day, the finance majors had their first class meeting to get to know each other. They had one peer mentor, who was actually a junior. She told everyone to come to her with any problems. Afterward, Preston suggested they go to the campus computer lab to play some games, but Cole declined. He needed to buy a wireless internet card and check out the area around the university. "Buzzkill," Preston grumbled. The night before, Cole had gotten back and Preston had asked him to introduce them to his goddess roommate, but Cole had refused. So unfair. Preston brought it up again. "You have to make it up to us. Introduce us to your sister's roommates." Frank and Javi chimed in their agreement. "They're all juniors. I'm afraid they'd be out of your league," Cole said with an expression that screamed, "I'm just looking out for you guys." "But you can handle her," Preston shot back, unconvinced. "I'm different," Cole said with a smug little smile. The 3 of them flipped him off and headed to the computer lab. Cole, meanwhile, walked to the liveliest commercial street next to campus, Hillside Avenue. It was a bit of a walk from the business school. The 10 a.m. sun was already scorching, and he'd finished a whole bottle of water by the time he got there. The street was packed with all kinds of restaurants and food stalls, even more bustling than the strip outside the main gate. The sidewalks were so crowded with students that you had to shoulder your way through. Cole strolled along, taking his time to scan the entire street, cataloging the types of businesses. He was only looking for boba tea and fried chicken places. He wasn't interested in any other kind of restaurant. An hour later, he had his results. There were 4 fried food places, but only 2 boba tea shops named ... and CC. The big-name brands that would dominate the market later hadn't appeared yet. It was highly unlikely that any of the storefronts on Hillside would have a "for rent" sign in the window. But to think that meant there were no opportunities would be a huge mistake. Cole had plenty of experience finding retail space. The method was simple. You just had to ask. Find a shop that's the right size, but has slightly less foot traffic than its neighbors and whose owner looks exhausted. The odds of success were much higher. Many business owners were perpetually on the fence about selling, and they'd only seriously consider it when someone brought it up. The reasons were varied: old age, illness, a messy divorce. After another pass, Cole locked onto a target, a lamb soup noodle shop. The place had decent-looking decor, but maybe because it wasn't lunchtime, it was nearly empty. The owners were a couple in their 60s who both looked worn out. Cole ordered a bowl of lamb offal noodles and sized up the interior without saying a word. The offal was pre-cooked, so the bowl came out fast. After one bite, Cole exclaimed, "Sir, this is incredible. The flavor is really deep." The old man's wrinkled face broke into a smile. "Of course. I start cooking it at 3:30 in the morning. The broth is a master stock. Best flavor on the whole street." Best flavor, I don't know, but the prices are certainly the best, Cole thought wryly. $10 for a bowl, $15 for an extra side of offal, $12 for a bowl with just lamb meat. And the portions weren't even that big. For 2010, that was a little steep. The profit margins had to be insane. Cole put on a shocked expression, amplifying the man's pain point. "You start at 3:30? My God, that's so early. That must be exhausting." "It is. You do it long enough, it takes a toll on you," the old man said with a sigh of deep agreement. "Well, if business is good, the hard work is worth it," Cole said between bites. "Business?" The old man hesitated. "It's just okay. It's hot now, so not many people are eating lamb." "That's true," Cole nodded, as if he were deeply considering the man's plight. Then he asked casually, "Don't your kids help out? This must be so tiring for the two of you." "Huh. They'd never do work this hard. They have office jobs." The old man sighed, a hint of resignation in his voice. "What's a little hard work when you're making money? Still, you two deserve a break. Getting up at 3:30 every morning." "I don't know how you do it," Cole said, his voice full of feigned sympathy. 3:30? It's 2:30. We have to get up to cut and marinate everything. 2:30. Oh my God, that's just brutal. Cole acted as if he'd been struck by lightning. He paused. "Sir, I'll have another side of the offal." A customer ordering more food always put a shop owner in a better mood. As the old man brought the dish over, Cole probed further. "Your kids' jobs can't possibly pay better than the shop, can they? With your skills, you must be raking in." The old man smiled and shook his head, a hint of a humble brag in his voice. One works for the utility company, the other's in Chicago. Their lives are much easier than mine. More respectable, too. They'd never want to take this over." Bingo. Cole's heart leaped. "Dude, I think you're humble bragging," Cole thought. "If I had a cushy job at the utility company, I wouldn't leave it either." He put on a look of awe, as if he were in the presence of greatness. "No wonder. Sir, it sounds to me like you're showing off how blessed you are." "Huh, what's there to be blessed about? It's just an ordinary life," the old man said, though his face glowed with pride. Cole struck while the iron was hot. "Why don't you sell the shop? You've earned a right to enjoy your life. It's not worth running your health into the ground." "Sell the shop." The old man seemed thoughtful. "I've considered it, but I can't bear to let it go. I've been doing this for 10 years. I opened this place in 2000. "I can understand that," Cole nodded, then shamelessly twisted the knife. "You could probably keep working for your kids for another 10 years. "Can't do it. I'm over 60, the old man sighed, shaking his head. Cole sighed too. "You're at an age where you should be relaxing, enjoying a peaceful life. Why are you still working so hard? If you get the right price, you should just sell it. How can anyone stand getting up at 2:30 every morning?" He then ordered another piece of flatbread and 3 orders of lamb, offal to go. It would keep the old man talking and give him something to bring to the 3 jackalls back at the dorm. "My son has also tried to convince me to sell. He wants us to move to Chicago to help with the kids, but I just can't let go," the old man said as he packed the food. The old woman, who hadn't said a word until now, suddenly chimed in. "You were born to work yourself to death. He asked you to go, and you refuse. Now our grandson has no one to look after him, and our daughter-in-law can't even go back to her job. The perfect assist." Cole rejoiced internally. "Ma'am, I wish you a long and happy life." He had to follow up immediately. Feigning a casual interest, he said, "Sir, why don't you sell it to my family? I wasn't planning on doing anything, but hearing you talk about selling, it suddenly makes me want to open a boba tea shop. You name the price for the transfer. Sell it to you? A flicker of hesitation crossed the old man's face, but perhaps the phrase, you name the price, made him more intrigued than suspicious. Cole had deliberately said my family to deflect any concerns about his youth. The old woman spoke up again. Young man, how much would you offer? Whatever the market rate is, I suppose. I don't really know. As long as you don't rip me off, I'm good, Cole said with a guileless smile. I'll have to think about it. The old man's eyes gleamed with a mixture of temptation and calculation. Cole knew it was time to back off. As he paid, he said, I'll leave you my number. I'm a student at Eastwood. It was only because I heard you mention selling that I even thought about starting a business. All right, that's fine, the old man nodded. Cole left with the takeout containers and headed toward the computer lab, a 30-minute walk if he hurried. On the way, he bought 2 cans of sunblock spray. Field training was about to start, and it was an absolute necessity unless he wanted his skin to peel off. That was a lesson learned through blood and tears. When he got to the computer lab, Preston and the other 2 were engrossed in a game of Dota. The 3 orders of lamb offal made them instantly forget their grudge about not being introduced to the goddess's roommate. Cole got a temporary login, played 1 round with them, and after being relentlessly flamed by his teammates and mocked by the opposition, he wisely switched to watching a movie. 2 days later, the 2-week-long freshman field training began. The entire College of Economics and Management trained together, including the accounting majors, but there were so many people that Cole never saw Luna. It was only when he was forced to stand at attention, stock still, that he truly understood the terror of an Eastwood summer. The blazing sun made him dizzy, and sweat poured down his body. It was a special kind of hell where you beg for both life and death. Fortunately, Cole was in good shape and handled it with ease. Javi and Frank managed to cope, but Preston complained nonstop. Every break became his personal grievance session. In the afternoon, a girl from the accounting department fainted and was sent to the infirmary. Cole couldn't help but worry, hoping it wasn't Luna. During a break, he pretended to wander over to the accounting major's area. Before he could even ask, he saw a girl craning her neck to look at him. He followed her gaze, and, sure enough, it was Luna, sitting among a group of girls of various shapes and sizes. Her black hair was pinned up under her cap, and her fair face was flushed from the sun. She looked timid, wanting to say hello, but afraid to, as if worried he might not be looking for her after all. You didn't put on any sunblock? Cole asked as he walked over. Luna whispered no. From her blank expression, he could tell the concept of sunblock had never even occurred to her. It wasn't just her. The girls next to her were also red-faced. Clearly, none of them had thought of it. Cole pulled out a can of sunblock spray. Close your eyes. Hold your breath. Without a moment's hesitation, Luna did as she was told, tilting her face up and closing her eyes. For a second, she looked as if she were waiting for a kiss. The other girls stared, stunned. Cole sprayed a fine, even mist over her flushed face and down her slender neck. He bought a good brand that didn't have a harsh smell. A guy had to treat himself right, after all. You can open your eyes now. Luna's eyes fluttered open. They were dewy and bright. Her moist, rosy cheeks, combined with her obedient expression, made her look incredibly delicate and captivating. Even Cole had to admit to himself, she really is beautiful. Too bad she's so thin. She looks like a kid who hasn't finished growing. Your hands, too. Luna quickly held out the backs of her hands. Cole sprayed them, then pulled another unopened can from his pocket and handed it to her. Don't rub it in. Spray it on every morning before you come out, and again during breaks. 4 or 5 times a day. Okay. Luna's eyes flickered, her gaze fixed on Cole's face. And don't worry about using it up. I'll bring you a few more cans tomorrow. Cole said this last part loud enough for the girls next to her to hear. Judging by the atmosphere, Luna's roommates seemed to be treating her well. Luna was about to say that 1 can was enough, but when she met Cole's non-negotiable gaze, she swallowed her words. Okay. All right, I'm heading back. With that, Cole walked back to his own group. Once Cole's back was turned, Brianna nudged Luna's shoulder. He's gone, stop staring. Hurry up and spray your big sisbury. A little flustered, Luna handed over the can. Brianna examined it and whistled. This stuff is like $70 or $80 a can, isn't it? He's really willing to spend on you. $70 or $80. Luna was shocked. It was so expensive. She couldn't possibly accept it. She thought about chasing after him to return it, but then she remembered his determined attitude and that commanding look in his eyes. He'd probably get angry if she tried to give it back. After a moment of hesitation, she decided against it. I'll buy him something nice when I have money later. The other girls gathered around. They all knew they should be using sunblock, but who could afford to buy it? They just tough it out. It wasn't the first time they'd been out in the sun. I can't believe it. You're so quiet, but you've been hiding a boyfriend from us, Brianna said, spraying herself generously, her tone slightly aggrieved. No, I don't. Luna's heart skipped a beat, and she quickly denied it. But the image of him and the feeling of absolute safety he gave her filled her mind. I don't my ass. He tells you to do something, and you just say, okay, okay. He tells you to close your eyes, and you just do it. You look like you were waiting for him to kiss you, Brianna said scornfully, spraying herself again. Seriously, I couldn't watch, Felicity said, snatching the can and giving herself a continuous spray. It was free, after all. She then passed it to the other 3 roommates. I really don't, Luna insisted, getting a little desperate. It was the truth. She understood what boyfriend meant. Back home, it was like having a sweetheart. But she didn't realize that the more she denied it, the more guilty she sounded. When did you meet? High school. Brianna mused. It couldn't have been since she got here. Things didn't happen that fast. Luna instinctively wanted to explain, but the words died on her lips. She looked down and fell silent. If she explained, she'd have to mention the shop Cole was opening. It wouldn't be right to just broadcast that. He trusted her. She couldn't be the one with the loose lips. Seeing Luna's reaction, Brianna knew she wasn't going to say any more. Fine, don't tell us. Big sis Bree is just worried you'll run into a bad guy. She slung an arm around Luna's shoulders, a strange look in her eye. But I have to ask you a question. What is it? Luna asked. Brianna's eyes glinted with mischief as she leaned in and whispered in her ear. Does he know about your, you know? Brianna's last few words were for Luna's ears only. At first, Luna didn't understand what she meant. After a 2-second delay, it dawned on her, and she blushed furiously, shaking her head. No, he doesn't know. Then he must have fallen for your face. Let me tell you, you need to be careful. Don't let some jerk fool you. Don't you dare let him touch your big bunnies until he's passed all your tests, Brianna whispered, genuinely concerned. This roommate had a high probability of becoming some rich guy's wife someday, but only if she wasn't scammed or tricked by a player. Luna was mortified and couldn't listen to another word. She buried her face in her hands. Bree, can we please not talk about this? Please. Brianna had no choice but to drop it. But her words stuck with Luna. She could feel that Cole didn't have that kind of interest in her. He certainly didn't have the creepy, disgusting stare she'd gotten from other guys before. He just purely wanted to help her through a tough time. Luna thought back to their journey since meeting on the train. A special, warm, and secure feeling bloomed in her chest. If Cole hadn't appeared, with no ulterior motives, she didn't know what would have happened to her. She might have fainted on the train, her poverty exposed to everyone. If she was unlucky, some bad person might have taken advantage of her. That night she lost her money. She had felt so desperate and helpless, with no idea what to do. All her courage had crumbled. Maybe jumping into the lake was the most dignified way out, a way to protect her last shred of pride. If he hadn't shown up, she would have certainly walked the 2 miles to that lake. At that thought, Luna tightened her grip on the can of sunblock. When he opens his shop, I'm going to work as hard as I can. I'll do everything in my power to repay him. It was almost 8 p.m. when the day's training finally ended. Preston, who had been like a dead dog all day, instantly came back to life. Come on, guys, let's go play a few rounds of Dota. I don't know, man. We have to get up early tomorrow, Javi said, worried he wouldn't be able to wake up. What's there to be afraid of? During summer break, I stayed up for 2 nights straight and was totally fine, Frank chimed in, eager to go. Preston glanced at Cole. He decided not to even ask. Cole's gaming skills were so bad. It was better if he didn't come. He turned to Frank. Let's just the 2 of us go. We'll play a couple of rounds and come back. The 2 of them didn't even bother going back to the dorm and headed straight for the computer lab. Cole, however, walked toward Hillside Avenue. He promised to buy more sunblock. As he passed the soup shop, he noticed only a couple of customers inside. The old man was working alone. The old woman was gone. He hadn't gotten a call yet, but Cole wasn't worried. Some things took time. The more you pushed, the harder it became. Painful lessons from his past life's romantic failures and the effortless successes that followed had taught him a profound truth. Negotiating with clients was the same as wooing women. It was all about a slow, steady approach, 9 gentle nudges for every one decisive move. Past the restaurant section, the shops on either side of the street shifted to clothing and skincare boutiques. Online shopping hadn't quite taken over yet, so brick-and-mortar stores still did good business. He found the same shop from the other day and bought 2 more cans of sunblock. After wandering around for a bit, he passed the soup shop again on his way back to campus. The old man was still there by himself, a sour look on his face. Did he and his wife get into a fight? Cole wondered deviously. Hey, I'm just trying to help you two retire and enjoy your lives. He had just stepped through the campus gates when his phone buzzed with a Facebook message. Serena, my feet are killing me from standing all day. Cole's eyebrows shot up. He typed back a cheeky reply. Technician no. 88 at your service. The moment he hit send, he realized his mistake. Crap, this isn't 2024. She won't get the joke. She's going to think I'm actually some kind of repairman. He instinctively tried to unsend the message, but it was too late. That feature didn't exist in 2010. A new message from Serena popped up. Are you working part-time? What kind of technician are you? Mechanical or IT? Cole felt his face flush. You can't be serious, Serena. You don't know what that means? But then again, he believed it. She was a genuinely good, innocent girl. In his past life, he had been angry about how she'd inadvertently dragged his parents into a humiliating apology at the school, but he never doubted her character. He typed out a serious-sounding explanation. A technician is short for master of technique. I once had the honor of studying under a master of traditional massage. It's a specialized skill, so I call myself a technician. And I think the number 88 is lucky. So yeah, that's it. Serena. Oh, I get it. You mean foot rubs. So you didn't know. Cole felt a little embarrassed. Serena, my dad gives my mom foot rubs, and it always makes her happy. And the next day, she doesn't nag me to study. So that's why, Cole thought with a private smirk. Of course she's happy. The feet are connected to the soul, after all. He couldn't resist another teasing line. Well, would you like this master technician to rub your little feet for you? He knew she would never agree. Foot rubbing was far too intimate. Sure enough, Serena didn't reply. Cole put his phone away and started humming a tune as he walked back to his dorm. The streetlights didn't quite reach certain secluded spots, which were always occupied by couples locked in zombie-like embraces. It made Cole, a 32-year-old virgin in spirit, feel a bit awkward. He felt like he was sneaking past a crime scene. Can't you people just get a room? He grumbled to himself. After a 20-minute walk, he was just outside his dorm building when his phone buzzed again. Could it be Jasmine? He opened it and saw it was Serena. Serena. Cole, I just took a shower and I washed my feet. They're so sore. Shy emoji, what the hell? What does that mean? Is she booking an appointment? Cole looked up at his dorm, so close, and then thought about the 10-minute walk to the law school. He started to backpedal. At this moment, the king of laziness defeated the king of lust. But just as he was about to make an excuse. Ding! Serena, the bottoms of my feet really hurt. It's a deep ache. Can you please rub them for me? I'll buy you ice cream tomorrow. Cute emoji well. Damn. Cole sighed. She'd put it like that. If he said no now, he'd crush her feelings. It's my fate to be a working man. So late, and I still have to clock in for a shift. He checked the time. Not quite 9. The dorms locked at 11:30, so there was plenty of time. He replied, all right. Technician no. 88 is on his way. Please have your feet ready for service. Serena, they're ready. And they don't smell. Cute emoji. Cole burst out laughing. She's kind of an adorable dork. Good thing he was a perfect gentleman. It was a shame that no matter how beautiful a woman was, her feet still smelled. And they all loved to let one rip under the covers and then pretend they were fairies who didn't pass gas. Or worse, blame it on you. The 32-year-old degenerate in him had seen through it all, which was why he'd lost interest in feet long ago. He didn't really want to go, but his pace quickened anyway, hoping to get back and get to sleep sooner. When he arrived at the law school's women's dorm, he saw a white figure on a balcony above quickly dash toward the stairwell. Then, he heard the sound of rapid footsteps. Cole had just sent the text, I'm here, when Serena burst out of the ground floor exit, her voice bright and cheerful. I saw you. She was wearing a pajama set with cartoon bears on it and matching slippers. The top was pushed up high by her chest, which barely swayed as she ran, a testament to its firmness. Cole's laziness was instantly cured. The smoldering embers of his inner horn dog were reignited. He swallowed hard, trying to keep his face a mask of composure. So we should find a place. Okay, Serena nodded, biting her lip, her eyes sparkling. Let's go. We'll see what we can find, Cole said, leading the way out of the dorm complex. She hummed. Seeing Cole walk ahead of her, a flicker of disappointment crossed her face, and she slowed her pace to follow him. Something's wrong. Cole immediately sensed it. A single was a definite red flag. He turned around and saw her puffing out her cheeks, clearly holding something back but too proud to say it. Cole smiled to himself. At the end of the day, she was still just an 18-year-old girl, full of childish moods. He looked up at the bright streetlights and feigned surprise. Wow, it's so dark out here. I should probably lead you by the hand so you don't trip. But he couldn't get too close. He had to maintain that push-and-pull dynamic. So he stood his ground and simply held out his hand. If a girl took the initiative to come to you then, it meant she was willing to cross that distance for you. If not, it meant you didn't rank that high in her heart. All the coyness and hesitation in the world boiled down to one simple question. How much did she value you? The thought had barely formed in Cole's mind when the girl in the pajamas scurried forward and slipped her soft, small hand into his. It is really dark. One of my roommates tripped just last night, Serena said, her cheeks no longer puffed out, her eyes pleading, I'm totally not lying. A phantom roommate, created out of thin air. What perfect coordination. What a team player. Cole squeezed her hand approvingly. It was so soft, so smooth. In that moment, the two of them achieved a kind of perfect, unspoken harmony. Like and dislike, willingness and unwillingness. It was all communicated in that one small gesture. No hesitation, no doubt. Many students were out and about, walking in pairs and trios, the occasional bicycle bell ringing as it passed. In the distance, the faint sound of a guitar drifted on the air, though the melody was unintelligible. Cole couldn't make it out, and neither could Serena. All their attention was focused on their intertwined hands. The beautiful girl in the cartoon pajamas looked like a pixie out for a midnight stroll, and she easily became the center of attention. But when faced with others' gazes, her expression turned cool and distant, and she would occasionally squeeze Cole's hand in return. This earned Cole a volley of stares that felt like tiny needles. If he hadn't been so thick-skinned, he would have been perforated. Not far from the law school, across a tree-lined path, was a large lawn. A few couples were scattered across it, sitting here and there. Cole led Serena for a short distance, a look of disappointment on his face. How can there be no dark, secluded spots? Is that even allowed? He had to settle for a spot far from everyone else. Time was limited. They needed to get started. The ground here was relatively flat, and the light was dim. Serena gracefully arranged her pajama pants and sat down carefully, hugging her knees. Her long, slender calves seemed to glow in the darkness. She pretended to be calm, staring into the distance without a word, but her eyes held a hint of anticipation. Cole understood. He said with a wicked grin, "All right, let's begin." Even in the dim light, he could see her face instantly turn red. Serena's fingers clenched the fabric of her pants, her earlier courage having vanished completely. Then she felt a hand grasp her ankle sock. Ah! She let out a soft cry, propping herself up on her hands. "My slipper," she mumbled, biting her lower lip, her face flushed like a rose. "Here we go," Cole said with a smile. Serena turned her head away, as if there was something fascinating to see in the other direction, and whispered a quiet, "Okay." Cole knew she was embarrassed, so he didn't tease her, not wanting to add to her anxiety. The truth was, he'd never actually done this for anyone else. His only experience was from his past life, from giving himself massages. He wouldn't touch anyone else's feet, but Serena was special. And Jasmine, too. "They don't smell," Serena insisted, her nervous expression tinged with pride. As he worked, she gradually relaxed from her initial shyness, her eyes fixed on Cole's focused face. The person in front of her was familiar, yet it was as if she were meeting him for the first time. He was a little bit bad, but not that bad. He always knew when to stop. He always made her heart race, but she also felt completely safe, never worried that he would do something truly inappropriate. She watched him mesmerized. 40 minutes flew by. Serena had never done any kind of physical labor, and standing at attention all day had been agony. Now, she felt much better. 20 yards away, a couple sat watching the two of them like hawks. "Shameless," the girl said. "I know, right?" In public, the boy agreed. "Look at him," the girl said wistfully. "I can do that," the boy said defensively, grabbing his girlfriend's foot. A smell like a chemical weapon assaulted his nostrils. "Ugh." The girl snatched her foot back, furious. "What's that supposed to mean? We're done. We're breaking up." The boy, his eyes watering from the stench, protested. No, I can't handle it." "Break up," the girl yelled, already running away. The boy scrambled to chase after her. Cole and Serena were completely oblivious, unaware that their actions had just successfully broken up a couple. "Feel better?" Much better." "All right, session's over. We should head back," Cole said, helping her put her sock and slipper back on. "Oh, so soon." Serena's face was a picture of disappointment. She wanted to stay a little longer, but it was getting late. She stood up, feeling loose and refreshed all over. The soreness was completely gone. That felt so good. "I want to do it again." Cole held out his hand, and immediately a small, smooth hand slipped into his. They ambled slowly back toward the dorm, Serena chattering about things that happened in her dorm room. Perhaps because her feet no longer hurt, her steps were light and cheerful, and she sometimes hopped on one foot. When she wobbled, she would grab onto Cole's arm, her eyes constantly shining with joy. Cole listened quietly, responding from time to time. Whenever he turned to look at her, she would be looking at him, a radiant smile on her face. Their path was strewn with the sound of their happy chatter. After dropping Serena off at her building, Cole turned to head back to his own dorm. When Serena ran up to the balcony to look down, he was already gone. She pouted. Oof. He didn't even wait for me to wave goodbye again. She walked into her room. Her closest roommate, Zoe, immediately noticed something was off. Where have you been? It's so late. And oh my God, are you wearing pajamas? I was just visiting a friend, Serena deflected, rushing into the bathroom. The law school had fewer freshmen, so while the dorms were 6-person rooms, they each had a private bathroom. Serena looked down at the cartoon bears. What am I doing? This is so embarrassing. Luckily, he didn't know. She quickly took off the pajamas, washed them by hand, and hung them up to dry. Then, like a thief in the night, she tiptoed back to her bed and pulled the curtain shut to change into a new pair. The other girls in the room exchanged strange looks. The roommates didn't say anything, and they certainly didn't tease her. When Serena had first arrived, she had been personally escorted to the room by Professor Chinbaoling, the associate dean of the law school, who had spoken to her with exceptional politeness and concern. The implication was obvious. The next day, during a break, Cole gave the 2 cans of sunblock to Luna. He checked her face to make sure she'd actually used it before heading back to his own group, satisfied. That evening, he got another message from Serena. Technician no. 88, my feet are sore again. Cole thought about all the things he had to do. He probably didn't have time. He needed to scout out other shops, just in case the soup place fell through. You'll have to tough it out for a few days. I'll treat you some other time. One of my roommates is heartbroken over breakup. He's a total wreck. If I'm not here to watch him at night, he'll start running into trees. That's awful. Okay then, I guess I'll just have to endure it, Serena replied. Cole breathed a sigh of relief. He thought of Serena's sweet, obedient face, and for a moment, his heartstrings twanged. Immediately, a small voice in his head cried out in despair. Cole, haven't you suffered enough? Do you remember what a pathetic, laughable idiot you were? The moment you let your real feelings get involved, you're doomed. You'll pour your heart and soul into it. Give her everything, and then she'll leave you. Girls always want something better, and you'll just be a piece of trash she casually throws away. Cole, are you really ready to drown in that lonely, late-night misery again? Cole walked out onto the balcony and stared blankly at the night sky, a grimace slowly forming on his face. No, I'm not, so I'll listen to my own advice. Cole ruthlessly suppressed that flicker of emotion. The cynical degenerate was back in control. For the next few days, Cole spent his free time roaming the streets, but he couldn't find a better spot than the soup shop. The other available places were either too small or the owners weren't ready to sell. The breakthrough came on the evening of the 7th day of field training. Just as the day's session ended, Cole saw an unfamiliar Rockford number on his phone. His heart skipped a beat. Could it be the soup shop? He immediately called back. It rang 3 times before someone picked up. Hello, who is this? Are you the young man who came for noodles the other day? It was the old man's voice. Cole's heart soared. It's happening. He suppressed his excitement. Yes, that's me. Are you the owner, sir? They spoke briefly. The old man was willing to sell, but the transfer fee was still a sticking point. They agreed to meet at the shop after 8 p.m. to discuss the details. After hanging up, Cole was in a great mood. He walked back to where the rest of his roommates were collapsed on the athletic field. Preston was lying on the grass like a dead dog, moaning that he didn't want to live anymore. Do you guys know the name of the prettiest girl in the finance department? Javi asked mysteriously. Preston, who had been half dead a moment before, shot up. What is it? Cora. Javi was pleased with his roommate's reaction. Being the first with the gossip was a great feeling. How do you know? I heard someone call her name. Damn, I thought you actually knew her, Preston said, feigning disinterest, though he was secretly relieved that he hadn't been beaten to the punch. Frank was busy excavating his nostril with his pinky finger, as if there was some hidden treasure inside. He examined his findings before wiping them on the grass next to him. Cole silently made a mental note of the spot. Never sit there. Cora's pretty, but she's nothing compared to the top girl at the law school. That one could be on the campus-wide hot list, Frank said nonchalantly after his excavation was complete. Oh, that got Preston and Javi's attention. Spill it, Preston urged impatiently. You guys don't check Face Power? Frank asked. Face what? Javi hadn't heard of it. It's a website that ranks the girls on campus. Cole, who knew about it, explained. It had been created by a junior. You know about it too, Cole? Damn, I feel like I'm missing out on everything, Preston said, shocked. That's what you get for being addicted to video games. Unlike me, I have a wide range of interests, Frank said smugly. You're getting off topic. Tell us about the law school girl, Cole said, a little curious himself. Could it be Serena? Right. Frank cleared his throat. I don't know her name. There's only one candid photo of her on Face Power. No info. But I'm telling you, she's way hotter than Cora. Cora isn't even in the same league. If there's no info, then what's the point? Preston lost interest. It was probably just some random picture from the internet. Javi suddenly pointed. Hey, that's Cora over there. They all looked. A group of girls was walking toward them from a distance. Are they coming this way? Preston quickly stood up, pretending to adjust his collar. He stretched his neck and straightened his back, trying to look taller. Frank and Javi tensed up as well. Only Cole remained sitting on the ground, his legs spread out. But the girls stopped about 20 yards away. They heard the sound of an English dance track start playing from a phone. One of the girls took off her cap, tying her wavy hair into a low ponytail. She stepped forward and struck a Latin dance pose. Preston, Frank, and Javi were disappointed, but watching her dance was still a good consolation prize. Cole chuckled to himself. Even if she came over, it's not like you'd know what to say. He widened his eyes. Might as well watch the show. The scene drew the attention of all the other guys still lingering on the field. He had to admit, Cora had a great figure. Her long legs moved with a passionate energy as she danced. Cole was mostly focused on her legs and butt. He didn't know anything about Latin dance and found it less interesting than the anime-inspired dance crazes that would come later. When the song ended, a round of enthusiastic applause broke out. A group of guys across the way started cheering, and then a tall, handsome guy walked over with a bottle of water. Cora demurely declined the water but took out her phone. Judging by the guy's excited expression, his request to add her on Facebook had been accepted. When he walked back to his friends, they erupted in cheers. How much of that was genuine was anyone's guess, but Cole figured it was all fake. You think you can get a girl with one bottle of water? Dream on. Getting her on Facebook is just the beginning. The real investment starts now. If she had accepted the water, that would be a different story. But she hadn't. Next, another guy mustered up the courage to go over and ask for her contact info. From his smile, it seemed he had succeeded too. The first handsome guy's expression soured instantly. Preston pouted. I should have gone up there. Cole, egg him on. Preston looked tempted. He ran a hand through his hair and looked at Cole. Let's go together. I'm not going. It's pointless, Cole said, shaking his head. Chasing a girl like that was a waste of time. TCH, you're not even trying to get girls' numbers. Something's wrong with you. You're never going to find a girlfriend like that, Preston mocked. They were all convinced the girl who had come to the dorm the other day was Cole's sister. No girlfriend would come to a guy's dorm to help him make his bed. He then asked Frank and Javi, but they both waved him off, one saying he wasn't interested, the other claiming a stomachache. Bunch of cowards, Preston muttered, sitting back down with a thud. The three of them just stared at him. Just then, a sweet, clear voice called out from behind them. Cole! He didn't need to turn around. He knew that voice anywhere. It was Serena. Her voice had a unique, sweet timbre, especially after her little squeal at the food truck. But what is she doing over here? With a confused but smiling face, he turned toward the sound. Sure enough, it was Serena, walking with another girl by her side. Cole waved. Even the drab field training uniform couldn't hide the girl's graceful figure. She pulled her friend along as she jogged onto the field. Her bouncing ponytail felt like it was hitting every guy in the vicinity right in the heart. Her pure, joyful face, tinged with a hint of shyness, was like a radiant star, dazzling every guy close enough to see her clearly. That included Preston, Frank, and Javi. But their feelings were a little different. She's looking for Cole? Why is it always Cole? Frank, on the other hand, felt a flicker of recognition. Why does this girl look so familiar? When Serena reached Cole, the gazes of all the other guys shifted from awe to a potent cocktail of envy, jealousy, and hate. What are you doing here? Cole asked, still sitting lazily on the ground. I just finished dinner and was walking around to digest. And then I saw you, Serena said, her hands clasped in front of her. She looked particularly well-behaved, a water bottle with a cartoon character on it dangling from her fingers. Cole was baffled. All you could see was the back of my head. How did you recognize me? As if on cue, Serena answered his unspoken question. It's your haircut. I can recognize it anywhere. Oh, the haircut. Cole felt a little smug. My haircut must be really cool and eye-catching. There's a little bald spot on the back of your head, Serena explained earnestly. I saw it a while ago. The barber must have slipped. But? A bald spot? Cole felt like he'd been struck by lightning. Is that true? He looked at his three roommates, who were trying their best not to laugh. The look of vengeful satisfaction in their eyes gave him his answer. He reached back and felt around. Sure enough, he found a smooth patch, about the size of a quarter. He always washed his hair in a rush, so he'd never noticed. Are you kidding me? You all knew, and no one told me? Did Jasmine know? Did my parents know? Everyone knew but me. Cole's face turned as black as the bottom of a pot. That hairdresser was ruthless. She'd done him dirty. Serena's friend, Zoe, felt a little indignant on her roommate's behalf. You walked all this way to see him, and he just sits there? What a lack of manners. This is a girl the associate dean personally escorted to the dorm, and she's gorgeous. And this is how you treat her? But to her surprise, Serena turned to her and said, Zoe, let's sit for a bit. And with that, she plopped down right next to Cole. Zoe was speechless. She had no choice but to sit down too. Is that one bottle enough for you? Cole asked, eyeing the small water bottle. It couldn't have held more than 12 ounces. Serena held it up and shook it. It's enough. I don't drink much. See? It's still half full. She noticed Cole's Adam's apple bob and thoughtfully offered the bottle to him. Are you thirsty? You can have some. My hands are busy, Cole said, still brooding over the bald spot. His hands were propped on the ground behind him, just like Serena's had been that night on the lawn. Preston, Frank, and Javi stared. What? You expect a beautiful girl like that to feed you? Are you dreaming? Being that high maintenance is how you lose friends. Zoe scoffed internally. Give him an inch, and he takes a mile. So arrogant. She was sure her roommate was about to get angry. This guy was done for. Under the pitiful and schadenfreude-filled gazes of the onlookers, Serena unscrewed the cap. Leaning on one hand, she twisted her body and brought the mouth of the bottle to Cole's lips. I'll feed you. Preston, Frank, and Javi, Zoe, the nearby students watching. Cole's expression remained calm, but inside he was gloating as he clamped his mouth over the rim of the bottle. As Serena gently tilted it up, he drank it all down in a series of gulps. Ah, that's better. Serena really knows how to back a guy up. Who cares about a bald spot? I have a cutie feeding me water. Do you? Did you put honey in this? It's so sweet, Cole said, smacking his lips. Serena thought for a moment, her bright eyes filled with confusion. No, I drank from it. It's just plain water. Oh, so it's because you drank from it. No wonder it's so sweet, Cole said with a wicked grin. It took Serena a second to get it. Her face flushed all the way to her earlobes. She bit her lip and shot Cole a playful glare. The three roommates stared, mouths agape, unable to believe what they were seeing. Holy crap, you can do that? Cole, you're a legend. Zoe silently cursed him. So shameless. Such a smooth talker. Only a naive girl like my roommate would fall for that. I have to talk to her tonight. She can't trust a guy who talks like that. For the next while, the shameless couple chatted away as if they were the only two people on the field, sharing funny stories from their training. It wasn't until it was almost time for the evening assembly that Zoe, unable to stand it any longer, tugged on her friend's arm. We have to go. We're going to be late. Serena knew she couldn't stay any longer. She said a reluctant goodbye and headed back toward the law school with her roommate. Once they were gone, Frank slapped his thigh. I remember now. That's the law school beauty. I knew she looked familiar. Javi and Preston's eyes went wide. The law school beauty? Cole is with the law school beauty? But seeing her up close, she was easily pretty enough to be the campus queen. Cora from the finance department wasn't even close. Preston threw an arm around Cole. Come on, man, for the sake of being roommates. Help a brother out. Let's set up a mixer with your dorms. Yeah. That other girl, the quiet one, she was cute too, Frank said, excitedly picking his nose and flicking the result into the unknown. Javi didn't say anything, but the greedy glint in his eyes betrayed his hormonal state. A mixer? Cole sneered. Last time you said you were treating us to dinner, you bought one plate of shredded potatoes. And now you want a mixer. A misunderstanding. It was all a misunderstanding. Preston said with a sycophantic grin. I was just worried you guys would get indigestion, so I ordered something light. How about this? If you can set up a mixer, you can eat for free in the dining hall for 3 days. We'll cover it. Hearing I become we, Javi and Frank shot him a resentful look. But splitting the cost 3 ways for 3 days wasn't too bad. Cole considered it. 3 days of free food sounded good. All right, starting tomorrow, one of you pays each day. After the field training is over, I'll see what I can do. Getting Serena to help arrange it shouldn't be a problem. He'd get his 3 days of free food first. Seeing Cole agree, the three of them were overjoyed as if the law school beauty's roommates were already within their grasp. After the evening's exercises, Cole headed to the soup shop. It was empty again. The old woman was still gone. The Cold War was apparently still on. When the old man saw Cole, he managed a wry smile. Where's your wife? Cole asked deliberately after taking a seat. She went to my son's place. With her gone, I'm even busier, the old man said, sitting down and rubbing his scalp worriedly. Well, she's just looking out for you. Your children are so successful. Of course, they should be the priority. I've come around to that idea. Selling is fine. It's time I enjoy my life. But, young man, you can't lowball me on the transfer fee. Don't you worry about that, sir. I'll pay the market rate. As long as you don't take advantage of a young guy like me. You don't have to worry either, young man. I feel like we get along. I'm an honest man. The price will be fair. Honest? Cole scoffed inwardly. You can't be honest and run a business. You know exactly what you're charging for this soup. He put on a deeply moved expression. Sir, I feel like we're kindred spirits. I just want to keep talking to you. It feels like we were fated to meet. The old man laughed heartily. Yes, it is fate. Let me grab a couple of beers. We'll drink and talk. He went to the fridge and pulled out 2 bottles of Kingway, then brought over a plate of peanuts and a mixed plate of lamb, offal, and meat. Cole opened the bottles and poured one for the old man. They clinked glasses. You're a bold young man. I admire that. My shop is in a great location. Students have to pass by here first. You built this from scratch, sir, and raised such outstanding children. It's truly admirable. The competition is fierce these days, and profit margins are thin. It's not like it used to be. A handsome and smart young man like you is bound for success. I spent a lot on renovating this place. The walls alone have several layers of plaster. You flatter me, sir. Compared to an experienced and successful businessman like you, my cleverness is nothing. I'm planning on redecorating anyway. I'll have to tear down all the walls. Their eyes narrowed. They clinked glasses again and drained them in one go. Young man, when I was your age, I was still an apprentice. The young will surpass the old. This shop holds years of my blood, sweat, and tears. It's hard to let go. That just makes me respect you more, sir. You build a place for yourself in this huge city through sheer hard work. But you have to look forward. Let go of what you must. Your grandchildren are where your efforts should go now. You're right. You have to look at the money. Let's do this. I'm a straightforward man. The transfer fee is $18,000, all-inclusive. Since you're being so direct, sir, I'll be honest with you. I'm not running a noodle shop, so I have no use for this equipment. I'll take it for $9,000, $17,000, and I take my things with me. $10,000, and you leave them. The old man and the young man's eyes were slits. They poured another round, emptying the bottles. They drank it down. $15,000 for the empty space. $12,000. We signed a contract now. Smack. The old man slapped the table. $14,500. That's my absolute lowest. Smack. Cole slapped the table too. $12,500. That's the highest I can go. Don't push your luck, young man. Sir, I'm being completely sincere. I have to completely renovate this place. The costs are too high. Final offer. $13,000. And I take my things. How much time is left on the lease? The contract has 6 years left. Fine. Deal. For a shop in any other location, the transfer fee would be a few $1,000s at most. But this was different. $13,000 was acceptable. Of course, that was contingent on there being 3 to 5 years left on the lease. Otherwise, it wouldn't be worth it. Then let's sign the contract. I have one I prepared before, the old man said, his expression relaxing. Don't we need the landlord involved? We have to sign with the landlord, Cole said. He knew the process well. The landlord had to approve any transfer. I'm the landlord, the old man said flatly. Holy crap. Cole was floored. This old fox had played him. If he'd known the owner was also the landlord, he could have negotiated the transfer fee down even more. Experience always trumps youth. Still, it wasn't a loss. For this price, there would have been a line of people trying to snatch this place up. If he had pushed harder, he might have gotten it for $10,000 or $11,000. But there was always the risk of the deal falling apart. And there was another benefit. He had established a friendly relationship with the landlord, which would save him a lot of headaches down the road. Cole gave him a thumbs up. Some things were about give and take. You couldn't push too hard. The old man smiled smugly. To be honest, I really do like you. Otherwise, I wouldn't have decided so quickly. You think I didn't know you were after the shop from the beginning? Cole felt a flush of embarrassment and clasped his hands in a gesture of respect. Sir, I was truly interested in opening a shop. You saw right through me. It's a credit to you. If you hadn't brought it up, I wouldn't have even considered it. And you were right. I really should retire. I just couldn't let go. You coming along helped me make the decision. The old man got 2 more beers. They drank and listened to his life story for a while. Then they signed the contract. The old man even produced the deed to prove he was the owner. The space was 420 square feet, and the rent was a steal compared to the neighboring shops. The lease was for 10 years, with an annual increase of only 3%. That was more than fair. Cole had gotten the better end of that deal. Given the old man's character and financial situation, It was unlikely he'd cause trouble later. After they both signed and added their thumbprints, the old man said, "All right, you can wire the money to my account tomorrow. Give me 3 days to clear everything out." "Thank you, sir. You're a good man. I'm not in a hurry." 3 days, 5 days, a week, it's all fine, Cole said with a sincere expression, though he hoped it would be sooner rather than later. The old man glanced at him. "By the way, if you don't have a contractor you know, I can recommend one. An old acquaintance. He won't rip you off." "That would be great. Thank you, sir. Before you leave for Chicago, I'll take you out for a drink." "Forget the drink. As soon as I'm done here, I have to go. I won't be coming back." A shadow of sadness crossed the old man's face. "Don't you have another child working for the utility company here?" Cole asked, curious. "He's in Atlanta. He's not coming back either," the old man said, shaking his head with a sigh. Damn, no wonder he wasn't coming back. One kid in Chicago, one in Atlanta, both major cities. After saying goodbye to his new landlord, Cole walked back to the dorm, his heart full of joy. After a quick shower, he opened his laptop, plugged in the wireless card and a security key, and transferred a year's rent and the security deposit to the old man's account. It was a cross-bank transfer, so it wouldn't go through until the next day. Then he downloaded an old version of Photoshop and started sketching out the shop's design. He didn't need anything fancy, just a basic layout to show the contractor. He also had to source all the boba and coffee equipment, but that was easy enough to find online. And he needed to rack his brain to remember all the popular boba tea recipes from the future. He happened to know a lot. He once planned to open his own boba shop and had researched the recipes of several major brands. The plan had fallen through for various reasons. In his past life, he had tried everything to get rich, but in the end, it was the internet that had turned his fortunes around. Thinking of the internet made him think of the major platforms. If he could accumulate enough capital, he might be able to carve out a piece of that pie for himself. But first, he had to focus on the task at hand. In the dorm room, Preston was in the bathroom, washing a week's worth of accumulated socks. Javi was on the phone with his family, speaking in a rapid-fire Floridian Spanish dialect that was completely incomprehensible. Frank was hunched over his phone, typing furiously, a goofy smile on his face. "Something's up." Preston, squatting over the sink, spotted it instantly. "Frank, what are you doing?" Frank put on a nonchalant smile. "What does it look like?" "Chatting with an upperclassman. It's my favorite hobby." Chatting with an upperclassman? That got Preston's attention, and Cole's too. He stopped his drawing, waiting for the story. Preston loved gossip more than anything. Sure enough, Preston abandoned his socks and walked over, his face a mixture of curiosity and jealousy. "What apartment? What year? Where'd you get her on Facebook? When did this happen?" "Eastwood Media. She's a sophomore. It was 2 days ago. I went out to buy socks and happened to see a group of girls at Noodle Place. They forgot to bring money to pay, so I helped them out. Then we added each other," Frank said with a casual air, but the triumphant glint in his eyes betrayed him. It was a look that said, "You guys finally noticed? You lucky bastard." Preston felt like he'd just eaten a lemon. Why does that never happen to me? He thought about his own meal budget. If he ran into a similar situation, it probably wouldn't be enough. "I have to call home tomorrow and plead poverty, just in case." Cole asked curiously, "How much was the bill?" "Oh, not much. Just under $230, Frank said, a faint smile on his lips, trying to project an air of it was nothing indifference. But Cole saw right through the strained expression. His face was twitching when he said the number. It was the look of someone who had tried to show off and gotten struck by lightning. "You paid the bill for people you don't even know? You should have at least flirted a little first." Cole looked at Frank with a heart full of pity. "So, how's the conversation going?" "Pretty good. She tells me everything," Frank said, sneaking a peek at his chat history, a grin stretching nearly to his ears. "Like what?" Cole continued to dig. "She said she grew up with her grandpa, who grows tea to pay for her education. But now he's sick, and she's worried about selling the tea to pay for his medical bills," Frank said emotionally, his face clouding with concern. Cole was silent. That tea-growing grandpa sure works hard. So many granddaughters, and he's still at it 10 years from now. Preston was deeply moved, as if he were watching a tiny, brave bird struggling in a storm. "That's so sad. She's so strong." Cole glanced at him, then turned back to Frank. "What else did she tell you?" "She said there's some kind of Apple event at the end of September. She wants to go, but she doesn't have anyone to go with, so she's hesitant." Frank's face was aglow with a saintly light, as if he were about to sprout protective wings. "What apple? Where's it from?" "They need an event to sell apples now," Preston asked, confused. Many high school students were economically illiterate. It was normal not to know about Apple products that weren't officially sold in the country yet. "You should go with her. Don't let her be scared to go alone," Cole said with a kind heart, deciding to give him a push. That's what I was thinking, Frank said, his face a mask of heroic determination. Cole pumped his fist in the air. Go for it. You're a hero. Frank's spirits lifted. Yeah, I will. Suddenly, Cole's tone shifted. But remember, sell whatever you have to, just don't sell a kidney. Frank froze. Sell a kidney? I'm not opening a barbecue stand. Preston was still stuck. What is this apple thing? I still don't get it. Dude, are you messing with me? An apple is an apple. It's just food. Go wash your socks, Frank said with a look that screamed, you're insulting my intelligence. He then coolly flipped his hair and went back to lavishing attention on his goddess, who was selling tea to save her grandpa. Preston sulked. I know it's an apple, but I don't know why they need an event to sell it. Cole went back to his design sketch. As for whether Frank would sell a kidney, not a chance. Just buying the tea was enough to wipe him out. The meal cards of the other 3 roommates were doomed. 3 days later, the landlord called on schedule. Young man, come get the keys. He was a man of his word. During his lunch break, Cole slipped out onto the hot sun and went to the soup shop. It was completely empty, not even a table leg left behind. Before he left, the old man had introduced him to a contractor named Mr. Huang, swearing he was reliable. Cole trusted him. Looking at the keys in his hand, he felt a surge of pure joy. The first step of his boba tea empire had begun. There wasn't enough time to discuss the renovation during the day, so he had to wait until evening. After 8 p.m., Cole met the contractor at the shop. Mr. Huang was in his late 40s, with the shrewd eyes of a man who'd been in the construction business for a long time. He was also curious about Cole. It wasn't every day you saw someone so young opening their own business. Mr. Huang assumed Cole came from a wealthy family, and since the old man had recommended him, his attitude was extremely polite. After some discussion, they settled on a price of $4,200 for the entire job, all inclusive. It covered plumbing, electrical, the work counter, tables, chairs, the door, and the glass storefront. The payment would be made in 3 installments. The next step was to demolish the existing interior. Cole tossed the keys to Mr. Huang and rushed back to the dorm to work on the design plans. The demo would probably be done in 3 days. Had to work at lightning speed to keep up. Drilling in the sun all day, drafting blueprints all night, it was taking a toll on him. Luckily, his 18-year-old body was as strong as a bull. By the time the demolition was nearly complete, the blueprints were fresh off the proverbial press. The drawings were crude, but that didn't matter. An old pro like Mr. Huang only needed a general layout to get the job done. If he couldn't handle it, then Cole had hired the wrong guy. Cole was swamped every day, spending his nights writing down his boba secret recipes. This was his key to victory. He had to take it seriously. He flatly refused his roommates' invitations to the computer lab. But when a certain campus beauty invited him out, he had to handle it more delicately, and he was running out of excuses. That night, a message from Serena arrived. Cole, look at my foot. I think it's swollen. Foot. JPG tapped the attachment. A perfect, pearly foot appeared on the screen, so white it was practically blinding. Her 5 toes were fanned out like a peacock's tail, as if to say, come and get me. The light had been too dim that night. He hadn't been able to see clearly. Only now did he realize just how pale and delicate her feet were. Cole stared at the screen, his mind blank. He swallowed hard. Wait, did I just drool over a picture of a foot? Do I have a foot fetish? For a moment, Cole was baffled by this sudden, unfamiliar interest. Serena's message was full of suggestion, a clear craving for technician no. 88. It poked and prodded at the pent-up horniness in Cole's soul. He silently recited the first 2 words of the Tao Te Ching 10 times to suppress the immoral thoughts welling up inside him. Is this how you test a man's resolve? You underestimate me, Cole. One of my roommates got scammed by a girl selling tea online. He's crying his eyes out. It took 3 of us to hold him back. If I leave, the other 2 definitely won't be able to stop him from jumping off a building, Cole typed. It was the truth. Frank had indeed been crushed by the tea-selling incident. He'd offered up the last of his meager savings, only for the girl to scoff at the amount and unfriend him without a second thought. For the past 2 days, Frank had been a soulless wreck, a zombie during training and a dead dog in the dorm at night. His little heart, once ready to save the world, was shattered. 5 full minutes passed before Serena replied. It was a voice message. He opened it and heard, "My foot is sore. Let him jump." That was a sound that seemed to wrap itself around the globe twice. It was a breathtaking, heart-stopping, delicate, and melodious sound wave attack that shot straight to his brain and nearly paralyzed him. Holy crap, Serena. Just go back to being an ice queen, please. I can't handle this. Do you have any idea what you're up against? A fully unleashed technician now. 88. What's happened to you? You don't even care about human life anymore?